What is love?
I love you so much. You are my first. I love you.
I have to tell you that I'm sorry.
I love you. Do you love me?
I love you.
From beneath the sand, landscape miracles seem so far away. Across the universe, she lives another day. I know the reason she's hate. I know the reason she's so far away. I know the reason she's hate. I know the reason she's so far away. How could we run from everything we have done? It only takes us one more step to fall. How could we run from everything we have done? It only takes us one more step. How I know the reason she's hate. How I know the reason she's so far away. How I know the reason she's hate. How I know the reason she's I know one, she's so far away.
Take me away from home. Show me all the places I've never known. And we'll chase the night. Erase all of these broken dreams and flight. And we'll fly. Up here, we're free. Bound only.
Hello and welcome to the Geek Stream. I am TJ, joined again by the amazing and amorous Joe. I really didn't have a word to use as I was heading into that. But getting ready to do some Legacy, and you are my new, I suppose every other week at the moment, is the current game plan, with kind of seeing how that goes and maybe expand on that, maybe not. Is that kind of the game plan?
Yeah, just continue hanging around until you kick me out of here.
That's always a fun time.
Yeah.
But last time it was so much fun, I had to get you back again.
Glad to hear.
We had Sean covering for me a week ago because I was up north in the frigid area of Canada, which was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I heard you took it down up there.
Not the sealed. Won a wonderful 1-3 in sealed.
But your modern events.
My modern events were significantly better. But yeah, 1-3 was actually better than expected. So for a personal
There you go.
achievement, I was expecting to be a Spellskite and call it a day. But we do have some decks out there that I'm aware of. I know that we have Mud, Storm, Goblins. We have, I think, Rug Delver, but that player might be going for Elves, but I think they're going Rug Delver. So those are the ones that I'm currently aware
You
of.
said the Pox deck as well.
I think that guy might be drafting.
Oh,
I
that is
know.
disappointing. I was looking forward to that.
Who chooses draft over Legacy? Such a
I don't know.
pure, beautiful format that is being hunted into extinction.
Right. Especially here with the proxies allowed. Like, do whatever you want, man. Have fun with your Legacy.
Yeah, that has been a whole lot of fun with our tournaments, including those proxies.
It's been a disappointing lack of Chains of Mephistopheles, though.
That is a great point. I would put one in my sideboard of Burn just because now I can.
There you go. Yeah.
Well,
you don't have card draw?
We should design the most expensive Legacy deck possible.
Alright. So we're going to start this off with the playset.
That actually is functional. Sorry.
All right.
4 Tabernacles.
Yeah, all right. So we got a playset of Tabernacle, a playset of Karakas, playset of Chains of Mephistopheles. Imperial Recruiters are going to be good. We're going to need some high
Portal
value
3
one-drops.
Kingdoms is going to be a really big pool to grab from.
You get as many cards as you can. Anything that was printed and reprinted in Portal, you play Portal.
Absolutely.
Style points. That's why I only play Corrupt Court Officials. Ravenous Rats are for peasants.
Of course, and you are a court official, so so naturally that is what we've got to go for. Excellent. A lot of fun for those of you who are with us currently. We should be having, I think, 3 rounds tonight, maybe
So.
4, but I'm currently only expecting 3. But
That'll be exciting.
should be getting underway very shortly, just getting a couple of things tied up. We also had a draft firing, so trying to regulate the various things that are going on. And we actually do have a matchup. I believe it is Mud versus Storm. So,
Ooh.
we are going to have on the right Ryan, who is on Mud. And as I'm putting in the information, if you could give me a quick rundown on what we can expect.
Mud vs. Storm?
Yep.
Ooh, well, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say Mud is very favored in this matchup, just due to the nature of all the control that he's sporting in the form of chalices, trinispheres, land destruction.
Accidentally did the update early. Our names are above us
You know
now.
what we're playing?
I'm assuming you're on Mud? Then I do. Cool. Thank you. So I'm actually going to just go ahead and put us on down there, and then we can continue this conversation since the names of the player are currently above us. So, let's head on down, and we will see you.
I'm Ryan now.
We'll see you on the field. Alright, so we have got our 2 players getting ready here in the first round today. Now, again, I believe you were saying that Mud is favored.
I'm very strongly inclined to say Mud's going to be favored. Certainly game 1 here. It's not unheard of for Storm to win through, the Chalice and Trinisphere going on, but Ryan's a very experienced Mud player. He's going to know exactly what to do, and I believe Josh is a bit more new to the format, so this is certainly going to be a hard time for him.
Okay, yeah, Ryan has been playing Mud for several months previously to that. He was a Burn player, still a Burn player.
Right.
But Mud is definitely a deck that he's had some time to get familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
As always, if we do say anything incorrect, please let us know in the chat, because we are always open to learning. And Legacy is something that I'm still becoming familiar with, coming from a background of mostly Modern. Can we explain what Mud is?
Yes, so Mud...
Let's start with why it has that name, because
Alright,
otherwise
so
it won't make any sense.
Originally, in a lot of the older artifacts, you'll see they have a brown border as opposed to the newer gray border. So Mud was originally a mono brown deck, being purely artifacts and colorless spells, hence the name, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know it's generally
what I
written
was
all
understood.
caps, so...
That's
could
what
be
I understood
something
of it.
special. Yeah, so it's a mono brown, it's a lot of artifacts, so they're going to be playing a lot of high cost spells, because you get access to lands that tap for multiple colorless mana. The soul lands, like City of Traders, that when you play another land, you have to sacrifice City of Traders, and Ancient Tomb, whenever you tap it for mana, you lose 2 life. So you get, a lot of fast mana going on, which lets you build up a lot of very powerful spells early on in the game. You also get things like a Grim Monolith, comes into play for 2 mana, taps for 3 mana, and untaps for 4 mana. Doesn't untap on your upkeep. And looking at Ryan's hand, it looked like he had a Chalice and a Trinisphere and an Ancient Tomb. So I think he's got a really strong lead into this match.
Yeah, that Chalice on 1, countering any spells with a converted mana cost of 1. It's going to take down Dark Rituals.
Yep.
It's going to take down... but Brainstorm Ponder, which are both in the deck.
Yep. Brainstorm Ponder, potentially Preordain. I'm not sure exactly what his draw package is going to be looking like.
Okay.
Those are all cut off. Cabal Therapy is another card that I believe is main in Storm. Not as critical in this match, but once Ryan lands that turn 1 Chalice on 1,
he's not going to be able to take it.
Right. He's done a huge first step into the match. Looking at his hand, if he has 1 more active mana, then that's a turn 1 Chalice for 1, followed up by a turn 2 Trinisphere. And as long as he can field a threat, which I saw a Metalworker, the game's over. At that point, Josh is waiting until he's got 3 mana, tapping out to play Lotus Petals and Lion's Eye Diamonds to try and get enough mana.
So
And there
there's
we go.
that Ancient Tomb.
So at the cost of 2 life, Ryan has
And no forcible.
horrendously set back his opponent.
I do see a preordain in Josh's hand. Unfortunately not relevant at
Yep.
this point, but at least now that we know it is part of his build.
So at this point in the match, for Storm, seeing he's got that Lotus Petal and Lion's Eye Diamond, if Ryan wants to just jam a Chalice for 0 on the next turn, that really locks up the game for him, and it would be worth considering playing those out now, not building Storm, but, getting mana into play.
And
So
we are moving to game 2.
that is probably a smart move on Josh's part.
Wow.
Technically possible, but the minute Ryan plays a creature, that game's over.
That was a pretty quick game 1. That Trinisphere able to shut it down. Another thing to note about this Mud deck is that they also have access to a lot of fast mana in the form of the Locust lands,
Yes.
which is Glimmer Post,
Yep, Glimmer
And-
Post and Cloud Post.
Cloud Post. Thank you.
Cloud Post being the big one. Cloud Post taps. It comes into play tapped. Add 1 mana for each locust you control, so up to 8, not counting the Subas, and that is going to be really powerful. Turn 1 Cloud Post doesn't do a whole lot for you. Comes into play taps for 1. Turn 2 Cloud Post. Then when you're untapping on turn 3, there's 4 mana already. Drop a Glimmer Post, gain a quick 3 life. You got 7 mana in play. It's getting really, really threatening.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you tell me a little bit about what we can expect out of the sideboards here?
Out of the sideboards, I think Mud is just going to bring in more of the same. If
More
he doesn't
permission.
have his playset of Chalice and Trinisphere in the main, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. Going to be seeing Lodestone Golems, anything to slow down Storm and just keep him off his game plan. Storm, I'm not 100% sure on this, might be seeing a bit more
Counter magic?
discard out of him, a bit more counter magic, just to try and prevent Ryan from slowing him down, but honestly, I think it's a pretty uphill battle for Storm no matter what, going into any point in this match.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take a quick moment and see if I can find some Legacy Storm to see what we can expect out of them.
Yeah, if we can look at just a suggested sideboard.
Exactly. We are going to be seeing Storm on the play, which is going to be a significant help,
Yeah.
because them being on the play just allows. Hurkyl's Recall, that would be...
That, I'm not sure. Considering this is a pretty small, consistent meta, it's possible. I'm not sure, though, if he's just been looking at pretty standard decks. Yeah, Empty the Warrens would be quite good. Just, get out a few creatures and try and beat down Mud quickly.
So I'm seeing Empty the Warrens as a possibility.
For sure.
Maybe... No.
No Carver Flowers.
Abrupt Decay, definitely an
Abrupt
option.
Decay is a possibility, yeah.
Could have up to 4 Abrupt Decay in the sideboard.
Scented Swarm, definitely
don't-
not. So
Yeah,
it's
I
looking
think
like
that pretty much is it.
standard, we might be seeing
Chain of Vapor, but that's not going to be
maybe
that
Chain
good
of
against
Vapor.
Chalice.
It's not good against Chalice, but does have some potential.
Yeah,
So not the worst card, but
probably not what they're looking for.
right.
From Mud,
I'm inclined to say for a lot of Storm decks, in Legacy you can't be geared to beat every single deck. The meta is just too diverse. This might just kind of have to be the throwaway match for Storm in the meta.
that's true. Let's see, things that we can expect from this
So
Mud deck.
knowing this Mud player,
Maybe a Ratchet Bomb?
maybe not going to be as useful because a lot of the times the Storm player is going to want to play his fast mana and just go. Might be good if he's anticipating to empty the Warrens.
Okay.
Tormod's
Crypt
Crypt is definitely
could
possible.
be kind of shuts down the Past in Flames, the one of Past in Flames.
Right,
And it
it-
also cuts down the threshold.
Right, and I know somewhere between the main and the sideboard, this Mud player also has a Platinum Angel and a Platinum Empyrean, which both give Mud just a hell of a time, or give a Storm, excuse me. So, a lot of interesting things to be seeing.
It looks like we have a mulligan from the Storm player. So they are going to get that Scribe, but still a pretty significant disadvantage in
For
a
sure.
deck, one of these combo decks that really relies on having a handful of cards.
Right.
So, Gonna be a significant disadvantage. Could be seeing this one go quickly. If that does happen, we will be able to get up another match. Let's see what we can do here.
Yeah. Alright. Best of luck for our Storm player. See if we can draw this one out. But it looks like we're going to be seeing another turn 1 Chalice out of Mud.
Unless a Cabal Therapy takes it down.
Very possible. If he sticks it, it looks like we also might be looking at a turn 2. Ooh, that therapy
is that a Cabal Therapy?
That is a Cabal Therapy.
In the Hand of Storm. That is an excellent... hopefully they name the right card.
Yeah,
But I really think that that's what they want to go for first, because that is such a house against them.
Oh, yeah. It's, they either, in my opinion, should be going for the Chalice or the Trinisphere. And on turn 1, it should be Chalice. That's their most imminent threat, and it was.
Yep. And gets to take a look at this hand. We've got a Vesuva, Ancient
Tomb, Kuldotha Forgemaster, Metalworker, Staff of Domination, and a Lodestone Golem.
Not a bad hand, but
not at all.
Without that Chalice, I'm not sure if that's very effective against this Storm deck, because it's not a very fast hand at disrupting.
That's true.
That Lodestone Golem isn't going to be coming down until turn 3, I think.
Yeah, turn 3 at the earliest. It's looking like. But that Metalworker has the potential to do a lot of damage here.
That is true.
Especially that Metalworker Staff of Domination. If Ryan gets lucky, we're looking at just a turn 3 kill.
Now, tell me more about this Metalworker Staff of Domination. I'm gonna...
Alright, so...
because I know that coming from Modern, a lot of people may not know. Dang it, I put Mustaff.
So, if I'm remembering this correctly, Staff of Domination has a multitude of modes on it.
One of them being
untap Staff of Domination and untap target creature. So what this allows him to do is, with Metalworker tapping, revealing the artifacts in his hand, Ryan's able to generate enough mana to untap the Metalworker and untap the Staff of Domination while net generating mana. At this point, he's able to say, I have infinite colorless mana in my mana pool, just shortcut to that point, and then use it to draw cards until he has Blightsteel Colossus, Lightning Greaves, and he just wins on the spot.
Okay, and then you can also tap down their creatures.
Yeah, he can tap down their creatures.
If needed.
Gain as much life as he wants. I mean, really, once you have infinite mana with the Staff of Domination, you can't lose.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah. I'm going to assume that, I think it's, just in case I'm going to bring that down. Yeah. And Metalworker being that you reveal any number of artifacts from your hand, so it actually doesn't rely on the battlefield. And I thought it was actually artifacts on the battlefield.
No, it's you reveal
when I first saw it.
So yeah, at this point, Ryan's in a really good position. I believe it takes
3 artifacts.
Three artifacts.
Just need 6 mana.
So assuming one of those cards in his hand is an artifact, he's ready to go.
Okay.
All right, let's see what Storm's able to pull out from this.
So we do have the Lion's Eye Diamond.
LED, that's a good start. Dark Ritual.
Getting a storm count. You know what I'm gonna do?
So he's getting going.
I'm gonna try and... We are currently at a storm count of 2, I believe, correct?
Yeah, it looks like Ryan's tracking that on the board. So 1 black mana and storm of 3. Or, excuse me. I think Ryan just janked up his dice.
So, let's see. We have the Lion's Eye Diamond.
The Lion's Eye Diamond, the Dark Ritual, and the Tutor.
So I think 3.
Yeah, should be a Storm of 3 with 1 mana. Oh, I see. He's adding back the mana from the Lion's Eye Diamond. Looks like he cracked for black, going for an Ad Nauseam.
Going to be pretty sweet there.
So, yeah.
Okay, so Storm at 3.
Storm 4, casting Ad Nauseam.
Excellent. I'm going to try and keep track of that with what it would normally be our Infect counter. So we have an Ad Nauseam in the hand of Josh with... I think that was using all of the mana?
Correct.
Okay.
So he's tapped out, no mana. Alright, easy. Alright, so he's got a bit of mana, bit of draw, a lot more mana. Let's just see if he can actually get exactly what he needs here.
Moving through a lot of these cards, revealing...
I was mistaken, that was an Oubliette.
Alright. So this Ad
Ton of
Nauseam
mana.
allows him to reveal cards from the top of his library, taking 1 damage, and keep going, losing life, or taking damage.
Yeah, that's a good question. Not sure. I believe losing life equal to the CMC of each revealed card.
Let's see here. Perfect. So I'll just bring that up at the moment. Going down to 3 here with that handful of cards. I think debating whether or not they want to go. I think there are maybe 2 cards that would kill them at this point in the deck. One of them being Ad Nauseam. The other one being...
I'm inclined to say the Ad Nauseam is just a one-of for that reason. He did decide to go all the way down to 2 here, stopping at a Duress, and he's got plenty of mana in the form of 3 Lion's Eye Diamonds, at least 1 Lotus Petal, and multiple Rituals.
Which is going to be pretty impressive.
Right. So...
Alright, so we've got a storm count of 7.
Yep. Playing out all those LEDs.
Those Lion's Eye Diamonds allowing him to add 3 mana. Dark Petition being the other one I was thinking of.
Yes, he has at least 1 Dark Petition in the deck. Not sure if he left those in. But yes.
So those Lion's Eye Diamonds, a 0-cost artifact that you can add 3 mana of any color?
Correct.
Is it in any combination? Or
No,
is it
it's
1
3
color?
mana of 1 color to your mana pool. When you sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond and discard your entire hand. Alright, so cracking a Lotus Petal for 1 blue, going for that Preordain. Did not see what he was keeping off the top.
No, looks like he is being a little bit elusive with us, but we do have still 1 put
looks like it
petal.
was another Infernal Tutor. So I believe that's all he needs at this point. He's able to build up Storm, cast his Infernal Tutor, cracking LEDs for mana.
An Infernal Tutor.
And we see a concession from...
Going to go
mod
for
player.
Tendrils with the
Yep.
Storm at 12. That's going to be 24 life to drain.
Correct.
Enough to do it.
Yep.
Okay, so some good interactive magic happening here.
Yeah.
Getting ready to head into Game 3 between this Mud player and Storm player. Storm taking Game 2 with Mud taking Game 1 with a very easy Chalice into Trinisphere.
Yep.
Going to be on the play again. Possible problem for this Storm player.
For sure. I mean, the biggest thing for Storm in that game was that turn 1 therapy taking away the Chalice from the Mud player, which allowed him that couple extra turns to get ahead. Mud on the play, we could see just a repeat of Game 1.
Yeah, absolutely the reason why we were able to see that Storm deck go off so well.
Right.
And
we,
Ad Nauseam, such a cool card to watch.
it's so interesting. And we did see the Abrupt Decays out of Storm when he was going off with Ad Nauseam, so maybe he's going to get lucky and be able to still beat Mud with those.
It is going to give him an out. Biggest problem is that it has to be both in the hand and mana.
Yep.
And this deck runs pretty light on mana. That
Very true.
Is, especially since a lot of it they rely on the 1 mana,
The Rituals.
the rituals. Thank you.
I mean, it is possible.
Rebuild. I'm going to look up...
I saw that in the stream earlier. Can't say I'm too familiar with that.
Rebuild is a 3-mana spell. Return all artifacts to owner's hand. To owner's hand. So it's all artifacts.
Yeah.
And it cycles.
That is an interesting card. I wouldn't really expect to see it.
Wouldn't you expect Hurkyl's Recall in that place? Because Hurkyl's is only 2 mana.
That's very true.
I guess this
Potentially
one...
with Rebuild, you get to bounce all your petals and LEDs, recasting them for additional Storm.
That is true. I'm not sure if it's worth the extra mana, but...
I personally wouldn't say so. It's pretty niche.
I would be pretty cool to see it. But for those of you
I'd
joining
love
us...
to watch him cast it.
True. Oh, okay. So 8 Farms did actually see it during the Ad Nauseam.
All right. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Guess
So
I missed that.
Let's toss Rebuild up there. A card that we could be looking for as an answer to the Chalice and Trinisphere.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for pointing that out for us, 8 Farms.
For anyone else who was in the stream, thank you for joining us. My name's TJ. This is Joe. If you do have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to jump into that chat and say hello. Half the fun that we have while doing this is just interacting with you guys. So,
Yeah.
if you got anything that you'd like to say, always feel free to chime in. All right. So I see a Dark Petition in the hand, I think, of the Storm player.
Looks like it. Also looking at Soul Lands and Chalice out of Mud. Just throwing it back.
Both players with a mulligan there, so obviously not seeing what they want. I saw Lion's Eye Diamond in Storm's hand. The only way I can assume that he didn't want that one is I didn't see any actual just lands. Possibly they were hiding from us.
Yeah.
And could have just been not enough answers to that possibility of a Chalice.
Yeah.
Which would be enough of a reason to mulligan that hand.
Right. What is 8 Farms? Comment is that I hate control players because they make Vintage Daily take forever on MTGO. Yeah.
That's
That's what
reasonable.
they do.
I don't really play Vintage, but Come to Modern, where control is all proactive. There's some reactive these days. Jeskai control is on the rise. Just able to prey on a lot of those things. Alright, so a Warping Whale out of that Mud deck.
Oh, that's right! He just picked those up, loving it. It's a sweet card. And it looks like Mud has a turn 2 Trinisphere and is throwing another Trinisphere back down to the bottom.
Alright, and both players scrying to the bottom.
Looking good, Mud.
So we've got a City of Chairs. That Warping Whale able to counter a sorcery spell, put in a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion that has a sack ability for mana, and exiles a creature with power 1 or less. So the biggest thing that this is going to be targeting is these rituals.
Yeah,
Alright, and I think that's City of Traders out of the Mud player.
it is. City of Traders is a really cool card.
It is a very interesting card in its design, when its downside just really isn't one.
Yeah. Fun little fact that a lot of new players might not notice with the card is if you fetch and have a land enter the battlefield, don't sacrifice City of Traders. It's when you play a land, not when a land enters the battlefield. So.
Interesting. Are the rituals instants? I did not realize that.
Yes, they are. Oh, I forgot Warping Whale is sorceries only. Alright, so I believe then that does get his Ad Nauseam, which would be pretty devastating to the Storm player.
True. Other notable things that it will take... Actually, Ad Nauseam is an instant as well.
Is instant.
So is Cabal.
Alright.
So Cabal Therapy.
Oh, for tutors,
Sorcery.
yes, for sure.
Dark Petition is a sorcery.
So all of his tutors is removal, I suppose? Or,
Infernal Tutor. Technically, Past in Flames is a sorcery, so
Yeah.
if he goes
That-
low on the mana to do it...
For sure, yeah. Yeah, but hitting the tutors and I guess Past in Flame would probably be the main targets there.
And Tendrils itself is a sorcery.
You only get one
Unfortunately,
copy, though.
Yep, does not take all of them. Hopefully, we're not going to see him wait to take down Tendrils.
Right. Oh, and it looks like we got a Chalice there while we were talking about there.
So a Chalice on 1 for this Mud player and a Scion token.
Beautiful.
Hey, it's a 20-turn clock.
It is, and I mean, a clock's really what he needs right now. And there's that Trinisphere. So we've got a clock and some pretty sturdy control.
Josh not picking up the cards just yet makes me think that he might have one of those answers.
He's holding an Abrupt Decay, which he's still a couple mana away from, but that will deal with either the Trinisphere or his Chalice, his choice at this point.
If you were him, which one are you going for? Because he does have a Lotus, so he can cast it this turn.
Except he can't cast that Lotus.
Lotus Petal is 0 mana.
Is 3 mana, Trinisphere.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
that's what really hurts about the Trinisphere.
Yep, you are correct.
So I think seeing he's got the Dark Petition and the Petal, I think that Trinisphere is going to be his big target here.
And
But
I
he
think
needs
that
to
Wasteland is going to be going off this turn as well to keep him off that.
Oh no.
What? Interesting. I guess maybe just
he's-
waiting to get to the second mana. He doesn't need to worry about it too much.
Right, because Josh can't cast anything with 2 mana anyways.
Doesn't have a whole lot to worry about. And it
Right.
allows him to get his own cards out.
Correct. Alright, so it looks like that was a Vesuva as a Cloud Post, just to help Ryan build up to drop one of his bombs.
Yep, up to 5 mana potentially.
It's not looking good for
I
Josh.
think I see an Ancient Tomb and another Vesuva.
Nice. Alright.
Okay. But that clock is still very much a clock, and it looks like
For sure. Alright, well, Josh did get a second land and a basic at that, so a second Wasteland out of Ryan isn't... There it is.
Yep. Still 9 mana available to Ryan across these 3 lands. And a Metalworker as well. Able to draw that one. I think still 1 card in hand. I think it was a land, to my knowledge.
I couldn't get a good look at it. Oh.
And starting to discard. So this Storm player, pretty much out of luck, needs to basically rip basics off of the top.
Man. Blightsteel on a Kuldotha Forge Master. So we're just dropping the Blightsteel here. If Josh doesn't get him on this next turn, that will be the game.
And it is, I think, impossible to. Alright. Yep. So we've got a discard, and I'm getting ready to put down 11 Infect. And there it is. Now, Joe, would you like to do me an absolute favor here?
Go grab up another match.
If you would like to, that would be excellent.
Alright.
Thank you very much. 8 Farms, you know what? I'm not sure if you want to send them to us, I will make sure to get them to Josh, but you by no means have an obligation to. But I won't say no if you just feel like sending us some, and I will heavily pressure him to play those Dark Rituals. Okay. So, we did see Mud take down Storm in 3. That second game, Storm able to take it because of Cabal Therapy being able to take down the Chalice. That would have been 1. Otherwise, the Chalice in 1 really dominating that game, followed up by Trinisphere in games 1 and 3. Currently, Joe, my wonderful co-host, is out there trying to find another match to get up there because we still have about 25 minutes left. Should be able to grab another one either heading into their Game 2 or Game 3 pretty shortly, toss them up, and we will be able to continue the fun. In the meantime, I'm going to bring it back up to me, and also Joe when he gets back. That way I can keep doing some updates and make sure that everything is good to go as far as the names. So,
Alright, so I found us another match.
did you? Never mind. Alright, so what do we got?
Looks like it's going to be Ian Hathaway on Grixis Delver against the wall, and Aaron Walker on Omnitell.
So we've got Ian Hathaway
Yep.
on Grixis Delver. Do you know what game they're going into?
I believe they said 2.
And do you know who got 1?
I'm inclined to say Aaron Walker. Probably should have asked. I'm going to go double check that.
Okay. And what was he on?
Aaron is on Omnitell.
Thank you. Okay, so we have got 2 players moving over in at the moment. Going to reset some of those totals.
Yeah, it is going to game 2, and Aaron Walker got game 1.
Okay, so getting ready for game 2 post sideboard with this Omnitell versus Grixis Delver. Aaron Walker taking that first game.
Mm-hmm.
And Ian is going to be on the play with this Grixis Delver. Now, I'm assuming that this is the Grixis Delver that has a little bit of a green splash for Abrupt Decay and Deathrite Shaman, which is what I think I've been seeing a lot.
I would assume so. Presumably we're not going to be seeing any Abrupt Decays at this point in the match. But, yeah, Deathrite Shamans for sure.
Excellent. And Omnitell being basically a show and tell deck that tries to put in Omniscience, chain a variety of spells, and hopefully hardcast and Emrakul.
Right, that's what I've seen Aaron doing in the past with this deck.
Okay, so I imagine that obviously game 1 not showing that, and I could be misinformed, but I would imagine that Delver is actually a little bit favored against this deck, because it seems like Delver is favored against a lot of those combo decks.
Yeah. Delver just needs to stake 1 threat, holding a grip of disruption, discard and counter magic. So it's very possible that we're going to see this game going to Delver. Game 2 post board, Ian is going to be set, got all his counter magic. Days, not 100% sure if this flavor of Delver's running them, but
I do not know. So, things that we can expect, some number of Flusterstorm, possible ways that Aaron can, and actually, I'll be curious to see if he's running Split Decision, which I'm seeing a couple of decks running recently.
I love Split Decision in the deck. I don't think I've seen one out of him. It's also an interesting list you have there.
It's the only one that I saw that was named Omnitell.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The Limduel's Vault, not something I've been seeing a lot of lately.
When they can cast it for free, it allows them to pretty much put their entire library in order, though, so...
That's very true. There's a... beautiful hand out of Ian there. 2 days, Brainstorm, Young Peasy,
and a Delver.
and another Delver with a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman.
Those dazes are going to be extremely useful here.
For
Looks
sure.
like 2 Leylines of Sanctity on the battlefield.
Right, so double Leyline out of Omnitell. That, saves him from the discard, which isn't nothing, but keeping an opener with 2 Leylines can hurt. Just in the fact that you basically kept him all to 7. Especially in this particular hand from Ian. It's not doing anything at the moment.
Yep. So we've got a preordained from Aaron. Otherwise, looks like if you are Ian... Okay, so going for the Brainstorm, looking to maybe set up that Delver next turn, and also get to that second land. So he'll be able to grab that second land and he can restack an instant to flip Delver the next turn
For
if he
sure.
would like. And that's at least what I'm expecting.
I would assume that.
As much as I hate seeing Brainstorms that aren't shuffled away, it does let him set up that Delver.
I mean, in this instance, I see nothing wrong with the way he's playing it. So it looks like Young Pyromancer, and he is in fact shuffling it away.
I only saw the dual land in there. I didn't realize that there was also a fetch land
Yeah, so...
in that Brainstorm.
Alright.
You know, if you have Delver and Deathrite Shaman, I could understand not needing Young Pyromancer in this particular situation. You might just
For
want to
sure.
get more permission.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got a Volcanic here. The cards shuffled away. And I think what we're just going to see is...
Oh, well, I guess the ley line is preventing Ian from winning with his Deathrite Shaman.
True, but you can always swing for one.
That's true. It cuts his damage in half.
Okay.
And I guess no lightning bolts either. So...
Yep, Lightning
No.
Bolts are going to close it out. That Delver is going to be really key for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, at least I'm expecting to see him lay that one down this turn. And actually going for a Gitaxian Probe.
Well, maybe not. He's
Look-
thinking.
Okay.
Alright, yeah. Going for the probe.
So that probe, we're going to let...
I guess he already
New?
Aaron's hand? Oh, look at target player. He looks at his own hand.
Interesting to look at his
I
own
believe... Well,
hand.
it's the ley line of sanctity. He can't look at target Aaron Walker's hand.
Brilliant. Okay,
So-
that's why. Yep.
Alright. Interesting. And there is that Delver.
It is... Deathrite is each opponent. It does not target.
Oh, alright. Never mind. Deathrite Shaman is still gonna go ham. Once Ian gets that black mana going.
Okay, so we do have a Deathrite on the battlefield, a Preordained from Aaron, and a Besiege
Ooh.
coming into play tapped, so those kind of spells going to be a lot less effective now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, and
Oh!
and a Wasteland off the top
Flawless
for Ian.
timing.
Really
Oh, man.
good timing to take down that Besiege. Now both days is still very much active.
Oh, yeah. I mean, setting Aaron back land, turning his days back on,
Couldn't
that's
have
going to
gone
be
better.
huge.
And-
Worth not flipping his Delver right there, 100%.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring up Besiege
Yeah.
anyway.
Let's have a look at what that
No longer
almost did.
relevant, but it is important to just note what that card was and why that was such a threat for the Delver deck.
Right.
So it does enter the battlefield tapped, and by paying 2 life and adding a mana to your mana pool, if you spend that on an instant or sorcery, it can no longer be countered by spells or abilities.
Right. So, hugely relevant, guarantees that his show and tell is landing. At that point,
Everything becomes available at that point.
Right. At that point, ideally, he's just dropped an Omniscience. Now, all of his spells are free. Really difficult for Ian to justify countering one when he knows anything else will be coming up the pipes.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, he just digs for his Emrakul, and that's that. Uncounterable, takes his extra turn, and that's pretty much going to be it.
So that Brainstorm looks like going for bringing in a Misty Rainforest.
Mm-hmm.
So he will be able to shuffle away those cards that he won, and a Brainstorm from Ian. So, Aaron at 16, Ian at 19, and this Brainstorm doesn't look like there's a way to shuffle it. Okay, and a Polluted
And
Delta.
another fetch, there we
I
go.
am continually proved wrong. Let's just, until further notice, let's assume that every player can just shuffle away when they want.
There we go.
Okay.
And,
So we do not have a flipped Delver yet, but so far pretty irrelevant just because he has such an early advantage through all this counter magic
For
from
sure.
this
And Ian went ahead, got his black mana, so he's now got that for the Deathrite Shaman.
all right. So another Delver out of Ian. He did shuffle it away, so still no guarantee of flipping, but I'm pretty sure that this deck, 2 non-flips, is I think a little bit of almost a statistical anomaly at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's very likely for Ian to start flipping his Delvers, and, flipping the 2 of them at the same time with an active Deathrite Shaman. that's going to be huge steps for Ian in this game.
Doesn't get much better than that.
No, I mean, obviously, Omnitell being what it is, he's potentially a top deck away from winning at any given time. But Delver is really giving him a good run for his money. He's got a lot of board presence.
Okay. On the bright side, I would prioritize Modern. But that is unfortunate on the bright. I mean, Rally, a 4-color deck in Standard. Absurd.
Yeah.
Alright, so that is that is the nice Lorwyn art of Ponder getting cast by Aaron. Looking at those 3, I'm used to seeing these players shuffle away their Ponders. But
and there you are.
Yep, so a sign that he did not have exactly what he was looking for in that Ponder.
Right, and at this point, he is looking for some pretty specific outs. Because Ian's got a hell of a clock on him.
So what else can Aaron be looking for at this point? Because he is going to need 4 mana just to cast a Show and Tell, and still get hit by 2 dazes.
Right. Assuming one of them, or both of them, haven't been shuffled away. It's very possible a daze got put back with a Brainstorm.
So we do have a Force of Will in that Ponder. So maybe you want to keep that on top, because having the Force of Will backup might be helpful if he can get up to that 4th mana, take down a counterspell. But I'm really... That's just such a huge amount of advantage against this combo deck, Omnitell.
Right. And... Oof. Ancient Tomb. Alright, there's his 4th mana.
As for why Modern above Standard, that is my personal preference. I don't have a whole lot of data to back it up.
Yeah.
I just have a lot more fun playing Modern than Standard.
Right.
And on the bright side, it doesn't rotate.
Oh, there you go. Ian caught himself. He forgot to activate his Death Threat Shaman EOT against Aaron. Extra 2 damage. It certainly never hurts. And it looks like we missed flipping Delvers again. Alright, there's a young Pyromancer coming in. And let's see what we have here.
Okay. Still no flip.
Still no flip.
But a clock nonetheless on the battlefield with that young Pyromancer, even without casting spells at the moment. We're looking at a 3-turn clock.
Yep.
If nothing else happens on this board.
Right.
And I think it's pretty reasonable of me to predict that something will happen.
For sure.
So, Ian only losing money via fetches, an Ancient Tomb, now casting the Show and Tell, has the Force of Will backup, so let's see if this is actually going to happen. But we've got Daze there.
The first Daze.
Forcing him to pay the 1, returning...
He's Volcanic.
Alright.
He's cast his Young Pyromancer. He's had his red.
And
so, what are we seeing from Aaron? He might be going for the Force on this first one, hoping that Ian doesn't have a second counter spell to back this up, which then leaves him 1.
So we've got another Daze going down.
Yep. And it looks like that one was paid for.
Ooh, and the
that Show and Tell
Omniscience.
resolves, putting in Omniscience.
I don't know that card.
That is a Cunning Wish. Lets him search his sideboard for any instant, I believe.
Looks like an instant.
You got Eldmari's Call, which is going to allow him to tutor up his Emrakul, hardcast Emrakul, and that is certainly going to do a number against Ian.
I guessed the name. I guessed how to spell Eldmari's Call. Wow.
So there's his Emrakul. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That is, You know what, Joe? We'll introduce you in a moment. Okay, and we've got a drain for 2, so certainly the game not 100% over.
Oh, for sure. If
but significantly close. Doesn't look like it is going to go anywhere.
Well, if Ian flips his Delvers, he's going to win right here.
Well, he does get the extra turn off of that Emrakul, however.
I agree, but that's going to put Ian down to 1. He's going to be able to sacrifice his 2 tokens, Young Pyromancer, Death Threat Shaman.
You are
I
correct.
can't. What am I saying?
Still, one of those Delvers will flip, and that's only if he attacks. And he kind of has to attack to establish that one.
Correct.
So, not knowing what's in his hand, there is a small possibility of a win for Ian. It is slim.
Right.
I is as slim
miscounted.
as it
If
gets.
Ian had one more permanent in play, then flipping his Delvers would be lethal here. Otherwise, yeah, it looks like Aaron
Almost
might just
may
be
not have
taking
wanted the days there. But of course, how
Yeah.
can you prepare for that? Hopefully, you take it down.
Right.
But going for the second days when he had that mana showing, maybe not the right call. Keeping those permanents, knowing that he has an Emrakul as kind of his win con.
Right.
The only downside to that, I guess, is that then he wouldn't have had the second token. So,
That's true. It'd be the same number of permanents either way.
yep, pretty difficult there. Oh, so Rad Green bringing up an interesting point.
Very true. He could have put one of those lands in, then he would have...
Flipping two of those Delvers off of it would have given him the win. Wow.
Yeah.
An unfortunate miss there.
That-
And granted, we can't guarantee that he would have, but
I mean, at that point, all he would need to do would be keep the... yeah, if he'd been able to do that, he could have picked up his Underground Sea, kept the Deathrite Shaman and Young Pyromancer, played his land for the turn, activated the Deathrite, swung Young Pyromancer, and there's the exact 4 for lethal.
if he flips it, yeah.
No, without keeping Delvers. You keep the Young Pyromancer and the Deathrite Shaman, put your Underground Sea that you picked up off one of the dazes into play, and that would have been that.
True.
That is...
Because then it's a guaranteed, instead
Yep.
of hoping to flip that top card. Yeah.
Oh, man. Would have been nice.
Cammy Nook, don't you be talking about my mono red that way.
Alright, well, it looks like that's going to be it for the match. Omnitell versus Delver. Omnitell taking it down.
Yeah, pretty impressive to fight through all that permission that was there.
For sure. That's what Omnitell does.
Didn't expect it, and got to that fourth mana. I also didn't expect Ancient Tomb out of Omnitell. My guess is that that's a pretty standard tech.
That's fairly normal.
I just wasn't prepared to see it happen.
Right, it makes a turn 1 pretty easy. Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, Show and Tell. If you've got the Forcible to back it up, you're golden.
Alright. Alright.
So I think that might be it for our round 1. I'll see if we still have any matches going on out there.
Thank you very much.
I know this is at least our 3rd match to finish up. See if the 4th is still going. See if we can get them on camera.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it back up to us in the meantime. That way we can, again, just have a little bit of the issues. So I'm going to bring it back up to me. Hello, I am TJ. Joe is my wonderful co-host who is out finding us a match at the moment. But for those of you joining us who have not before, welcome. We are streaming from Geek Fortress, store in Snohomish, Washington. I do this stream 3 times a week, once for Legacy on these Friday nights, and then Modern on Wednesdays and Saturdays. We are going to be having 3 rounds tonight, possibly 4, but always open to any comments, questions, or feedback in the comments. It's a lot of fun to interact with you guys. So, thank you for joining. I do appreciate that. What are my thoughts on the Pro Tour? Goodness. The Pro Tour was definitely a bit of an odd one. Eldrazi all over the place.
Alright, so our last match is already on their game 3, pretty dug in at another table, so...
That is okay. In the meantime, we will talk a little bit. Were you watching the Pro Tour today, or were you busy at work?
I was not. Stuck at work.
Such is life. Eldrazi all over the place. I think part of that might have been because it is out of the newest set, and they might have put in a little bit of a spotlight on the decks when they could, because of the nature of it.
Trying to highlight the new products.
Nonetheless, a lot of decks performing really well with those Eldrazi cards.
Alright.
You can only spotlight it so much for it.
Right.
LSV is at the Pro Tour, but he is not commentating it, which is what Cammy Nook was referencing.
Okay.
Yeah. But overall, I like it. Eldrazi all over the place. I'm excited to see Affinity doing well.
Yeah.
Obzon not doing nearly as well as I expected, and I think a lot of that has to do with the unexpected prevalence of the Eldrazi deck.
Could be.
Some of them very interesting. There was actually a monocolorless one with some endless ones.
Okay.
And there was a blue-red one running things like Eldrazi Sky Spawner, which is a 3-mana 2/1 that produces a Scion. And it was
Interesting card.
it was going.
Alright.
And I think it was undefeated in day 1.
Oh wow, that's really impressive.
That is 5-0 for... I mean, it's hard to argue with those kind of results. Granted, something to take a grain of salt with. And I don't mean this in any way to be a put down in any of the decks there, because they're all very powerful decks and established. But Pro Tours tend to have a very interesting meta that is not like your regular meta, to where it's
Right.
much less trying to build for a general field, and it's almost like everyone's trying to next level.
Right.
So a lot of weird sideboard choices, some very weird mainboard choices, and a lot of people sometimes trying to just go underneath that next level
Right.
by going for cards that no one would expect.
Mm-hmm.
So some very possible ideas, but knowing whether or not they're viable beyond that in, say, a GP setting, something like
Right.
that, needs further testing against that grander field.
For sure.
Um,
That is certainly a meta.
Easy Flow. Surprisingly, we don't have a ton of Tron hate here, but also we just don't have a ton of Tron. We've got Blue Tron and Green Red Tron, but it's certainly not out in numbers.
Right. Kind of a 1, maybe 2 of each.
Kimmy Nook, how do you get those puns? Clearly you hang out with me. That's the way to do it. I need to get better about actually doing them on here. Normally I get so distracted that I'm not
Right.
even like thinking about them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have to see what I can do to get some of those puns out there.
For
They're
sure.
so much easier in Standard. The naming schemes have gotten much better.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, I mean, like, I can say that, hit him so hard with that chalice that it basically hit him into Ancient Tomorrow. But that's, like, really lowball. That's some low-hanging fruit, but I guess that's
No,
what all
just-
of puns are.
You gotta say every single pun that comes to mind. Some of them stick, and people don't remember the ones that don't.
Nice, humorous jokes by breaking an arm. Joe, I don't think that I'm going to be going for your arm anytime soon on that one.
If I see you start looking at me funny, I'll just scoot a little towards the door.
Excellent. That's the way to do it.
All right.
I mean, we don't want to take them by storm with these puns. Okay, I guess I may try and do it. We'll have to do the lotus pedal to the metal eventually. See, I'm trying to do a little bit of them. Hopefully I'm catering to you pun lovers here.
Yeah? Who doesn't love a good pun? I mean, really.
All right. Do you buy Windswept and Flooded for Rally? It's not a bad idea. They're decent fetches, and fetches are certainly not going to be going down in price
No.
anytime soon. They're a solid
No bots.
investment. So,
For sure.
buying fetches, not an awful idea right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some very bad luck at the Pro Tour. Absolutely, but he is also the only one to go completely undefeated in one, to my knowledge.
Really? Wow.
Wasn't that kind of his claim to fame, is that he went fully
idea.
undefeated in a Pro Tour?
I don't know anything about professional magic.
Okay.
Anything.
Well, LSV is the pun master, so
Alright.
he definitely has had some good luck in the past, but
Mm.
not doing too great recently in Pro Tours. But of course, he's already made a name for himself as a player,
Right,
so
so-
he's certainly not needing that particular
Mhm.
spotlight. He's already so loved as a commentator that eventually he's already got a secondary career in that.
Alright, there you go.
All right, Emperor Calgar, welcome. I'm going to assume that that is you waving at us, so we'll just say a little.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, hi.
Hello. All right, but thank you for joining us. We should be getting into our round 2 pretty shortly, coming close to getting to time. Only
Awesome.
one match going anyway, so I'm expecting to hear pretty shortly about our next match, and we'll be able to get that going for our round 2.
Yeah.
3 rounds tonight.
Fingers crossed for something exciting coming up.
LSV and Rich Hagon, interestingly, have both signed Tybalts of mine.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, I've got a stack. I think I'm up to like 28 pro signatures on Tybalts.
Nice.
I also, while in Vancouver, got an entire playset and a foil signed by Jacob Wilson. That was my one goal, is to find Jacob Wilson, the guy who plays Tybalt in Legacy. Absolutely. And just go for it.
Mhm.
And so I got him to sign 5 different Tybalts, and that is my current Hall of Fame of Tybalts.
Nice.
But I've also got a nice little pantheon of them as well. Though I probably shouldn't say pantheon, since I don't have a lot of the pantheon members, and that's actually a Magic team.
Oh, really?
Again, wow, you are really showing that you don't know anything.
Nothing.
The Pantheon is like Channel Fireball's premier
Okay.
Magic team. Yeah, they're... Wow.
Yeah,
you are
no,
really proving me. Excuse me,
I've
what
been
is...
go to the GP and everyone's like, oh, dude, you see that guy? I'm like, there's a lot of guys. Who am I looking at? Like, dude, that's a pro player. Do you not watch streams? Like, no.
He loses all the same. They all
Or-
lose the same to me.
Everyone beats me just as bad. It doesn't matter.
That's true.
Or I did beat Sam Pardee in like November 2014. Went down to Portland, and on the car ride home, I was like, oh, how was it playing against Sam Pardee? And I was like, last round guy.
Sometimes you just gotta party on.
This is a legacy guy. Like, what do you mean? He's like, he's a pro player. I'm like, oh, Okay.
Well, hopefully you guys partied on good terms.
Oh, yeah. Since I was leaving anyways, I gave him concessions so he could party all night.
Excellent. See, we will get better about these puns. If that is what the people need, that is what we will do.
We'll latch onto one and just strangle it all night. And
Drive it into the ground.
Love it after about 3 hours.
Yeah, we will pile drive it. Absolutely. We will need a Warren investigator to look at the carnage that we will spread with puns.
I really hope the Goblins players on stream next.
I'll take an A-. That's fine. A- is good for me.
Yeah.
Alright, so we should be on turns, looking to head into it pretty shortly. If you guys want to rate our puns, that can definitely help us improve.
Oh, for sure.
So the wonderful chat, thank you for joining. Legacy still not nearly as big as our modern streams, but hopefully that changes. This Legacy community currently, of course,
Yep.
Goblin pile drive it. But the Legacy community currently in a little bit of a tight spot recovering, not getting a whole lot of at least GP support.
Oh, God, no
Though,
kidding.
to be honest, I can understand it as much as I like those Legacy GPs. From the perspective of, it's just so hard to draw new people to GPs, which is what a lot of those GPs
Understandable.
are. Because they have, as much as there are those exceptions, people getting into Legacy, they exist, and they're
Right.
constantly happening. So much of the Legacy community is already well established.
Right.
And so it's really hard when you're trying to kind of sell that product. Having Legacy GPs just doesn't make a ton of sense. That being said, I'm quite sad. I'd like to see some more support for it in the future
I'd
in
love
some
to see more
form or
Legacy
another.
GPs.
Because it's just got such a strong legacy behind it. And I guess they just need a way to make it feel a bit more modern.
Yeah.
I'm nailing it.
Oh,
Okay, I could probably use some improvement. Those are definitely some low-hanging fruit. Sorry, everybody. I apologize for that one. That one's bad, even by my pretty low standards. But for those of you who are wondering, this is Joe, and let's introduce him with 3 quick little questions. Joe,
Yep.
tell us a little bit. You are currently my Legacy expert. Tell me a bit about your Legacy playing career. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've had an interesting career, we can put it that way. I've been playing for a few years, 4 or 5 years now. Started off with a solid Legacy Affinity back in the day. That was really fun to play. Very different from the modern lists. From there, I dabbled a bit with a few other decks before putting together a Goblin Bombardment or a Zombardment deck based on a list Sam Black put out in, I believe, 2012. Then from there, I've built a few other things like a General Harpies, a list based on something that Chase Hansen gave me, and I've just kind of built for fun a lot of the time. Not really ever been into net decking or looking up lists. I like a lot more weird brews, like a Nourishing Lich, variants on 4 Horsemen, weird little things like that.
Yeah, you've developed a little bit of a name for yourself as a mad scientist, at least on the local level. As far as your brews, with things like the legendary Nefarious Lich, which is basically a life gain storm deck.
Yeah, and I'd like to shout out again Chase Hansen for coming up with the original list that's based on.
Interesting. All right, 8 Farms, congratulations on your win.
Dude, nice job, man.
I'm guessing that this is still vintage, so 8 Farms definitely a little bit too rich for my blood.
But it is online vintage, that helps.
That's true. I actually don't really know what the price tag of that format is.
Assuming a lot less. Online prices can be weird.
Okay.
Misdirection being over $100 for whatever reason.
Odd.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tend to be a little bit of a brewer, definitely falling a bit more into that combo spectrum as far as the player
frequently,
goes.
combo or synergy. Very creature heavy in a majority of my decks.
Creature combo.
Mhm.
Okay. Definitely kind of an untapped ground as far as Legacy especially goes.
Yeah.
They definitely like their instants and sorceries in Legacy. So I can totally get behind that. Some other fun facts about you. What was your favorite... How about draft environment?
Ooh. Can't say I've actually drafted all that much, but I really enjoyed drafting the original Modern Masters. I thought that was really fun. and original Zendikar is kind of when I first really started getting into Magic, and that was a great time. I enjoyed a lot of that, the landfall mechanic, and one of my favorite cards ever printed, Bloodghast, was from that set, so any chance to open one of those, good in my books.
Always good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Other than that, chat, if you have any questions for Joe to establish his character with us a little bit, because he will be joining me more for these Legacy streams, currently every other week.
Yep.
Eventually, I might try and convince him to go up to every week. I'm not really, I'm not sure if he's totally it, because I think he would still like to play every now and then.
It's fun to play, but I enjoy streaming too.
Exactly. We'll see how it goes, but if you guys have any questions for him, go ahead and put at Geek Fortress in your question for Joe, and we will definitely establish him as a character here on the stream. As our mad professor.
All right.
Other than that, thank you for joining. A couple of you have. My name's TJ. This is Joe. We're streaming Legacy tonight. Can we try to convince others to play Death and Taxes? Benjamin Franklin did. And if that's not a selling point, I don't know what is. He's on the box of Quaker Oats. So... Clearly, I know what's going on.
There you go.
But we are doing some Legacy here. 3 rounds, getting ready to head into round 2. Just come some time until then.
Yep.
As far as other people playing Death and Taxes, it's a pretty sweet deck. You get to play with those Stoneforge Mystics that you scooped up speculating on Modern. So now you finally have a use for those Stoneforges, and that's always a nice way to do it. You get to play Batterskull without worrying about Kulagon's command.
You get to play Control without playing Blue.
That's true.
Something a lot of people are going to enjoy.
An excellent point. You get to basically be a piano, since I think you're in general a black-white deck.
Yeah.
So
I think Legacy tends to be more mono-white.
Significantly less... sorry. Very cool. Very cool. You can nickname your deck the Planet Hoth, because it's cold, frigid, people don't like being there, and it's mono-white. There's a lot of really big pluses to Death and Taxes. So... If that wasn't enough for me to convince you, then...
There we go. Dead Guy Ale. Now that's a deck I can get behind. That was something I dabbled in when I was pretty new to Legacy. Couldn't play it well, so I just kind of gave up on it. Something I've been meaning to get back to.
Is it weird that when I see Dead Guy Ale, I think, no, that deck's way too established for Joe?
I mean, established a few years ago.
Oh, man.
It's hipster enough now I'm willing to play it.
Okay, you are about as much of a Legacy hipster as they come. I mean, aside from the fact that you don't eye roll anytime I'm like, hey Joe, check out this mono red burn, you don't go...
No, it's... I like checking out some of the older decks, seeing why they aren't around, and see if we can do something about that. Get them back into the mix. Like a good old Legacy Affinity. Bring it in back.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Legacy Affinity, but mostly that's just because I'm a big fan of Affinity in general.
Right.
It's always a big plus.
I mean, I love the Legacy Affinity, because you can very easily justify playing mainboard chalices, and I'm digging that your tech against Miracles is Thopter Sword combo, and your tech against Storm is actually just Flusterstorm. Who doesn't want to play that?
I think it is pretty cool that one of the sweetest techs that they've printed against Storm is called Flusterstorm, so it makes Storm
You're
fluster.
flustering the Storm player.
Yeah.
Rustling their jimmies, if you will.
It's all... I've been saying that in Odd Amount in the last 2 weeks. Is that because of you?
No.
Okay, then maybe you're saying it because of me?
No, I just haven't been saying it enough recently, and I need to fix that.
I've really been saying rustling the jimmies a decent amount recently, and I cannot explain it.
I think we just found the new slogan for the stream. The Legacy stream, at least.
Oh my goodness. I need to come up with something that it rhymes with. What does jimmies even rhyme with? Rustling jimmies, but there are no Timmies. Only spikes.
Yes, yeah.
No?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ooh, defeating those Timmies by rustling their jimmies.
There we go.
Boom!
And yeah, I'd say that's pretty true about the Legacy Affinity. Vintage is just a whole nother format all on its own. And yeah, not quite as punchy as the modern variety. It tries to take a step back and be a little more controlling and hateful, but obviously not to the levels that Vintage gets to.
Absolutely, and actually, I have piloted Modern Affinity. in Legacy previously.
Right.
The only exception being that I just tossed in some number of the
Ancient Tomb.
the trap, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I put the I forget what it's called, the spell
Archive Trap?
Or no,
Oh, Spellbreak.
Spellbreak Trap.
Mm.
So I did put in 3 copies of Spellbreak Trap into the sideboard and pretty much just ran it as is. Ended up coming in, I think, second.
I remember you saying you did well.
And I think Justin has done it and tied for first. The biggest issue is with that is I happened to do that back when Legacy here was significantly less established.
Right.
And while that is probably viable at an F&M kind of thing,
Right.
significantly less so on a much larger arena.
Yeah. And yeah, that is pretty strong in the vintage format.
We seem to have 2 vintage players in our chat, and I think that that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I do like it. It's fun to hear
Unfortunately,
your
not
guys'
much of a
opinion.
vintage scene here.
No, I would. I don't know.
We've
Cool if there
considered it.
was.
We have considered it. The biggest issue is that we couldn't do it a lot.
Right.
And also, you end up having to do a lot of proxies. It is something that we have considered.
Right.
Now, while we do have some time just before starting this second round, hopefully very shortly, should be getting that one underway. But for those of you wondering what our stream schedule is, feel free to join us Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, Fridays at 7:30, and Saturdays at 6 o'clock, where we do Modern, Legacy, and then Modern respectively for each of those. Another note of things that we will be doing a Modern GPT on the 21st of this month. That is a Sunday. I will be here for pretty much all day from noon until whenever we end, likely 5 rounds plus a top 8. So I will be here. I only wish that I played Vintage because then I could sell my deck, to be honest.
McNuzzle down payment, buy a car.
Exactly. Modern is definitely the format where I have my most fun. Legacy, more and more appealing to me the more that I do this stream. So it's definitely turned around. Legacy has been a lot of fun for me to do.
Alright, that's what I like to hear. Oh man, most heartbreaking thing I've ever heard at a GP. Announcement across the intercom. Someone lost a blackboard piece of power. If you find it, can you please bring it to the front desk? There is a reward. Oh man,
Heartbreaking.
that hurts to hear.
Black bordered too.
Yeah.
That is, my guess is that that reward was not claimed. I would very much like to believe that it was.
I'd like to think so, but oh man.
Unfortunately, when the stakes are that high, I don't know. The Magic community has been pretty good in the period past, so I'm gonna say very likely that power was reclaimed.
I hope so.
All right. 8 Farm stopped drafting for a few years, and I guess that was enough for you to purchase a vintage deck. I can kind of believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that $15 over the course of several years,
Yeah.
it adds up a lot.
15 a week, 52 weeks a year for 4 years. I don't know, a few.
I can definitely believe it.
Yeah, that's getting there.
I mean, that alone is about $3,000. So
There's your Black Lotus. Okay, there's your Pete.
only 59 cards to go.
Oh, that's
man.
true. Yeah, before the prices spiked a few years ago, it was more affordable, but still not that cheap.
Dylan and I are going to play on the stream.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Fall.
What are you guys playing?
I'm on Omnitell. I don't know what the hell he's on.
Are you okay? Could you be against the wall?
I'm going to be against the wall.
All right,
Excellent.
I'll go ask him, see if we can get that info for the stream.
Okay. So we are actually going to get an exhibition game going for you guys just so that we can have something on the stream. Our Omnitell player is going to be coming back to the table, and I believe he's going to be going up against Rug Delver. To my belief, so that's what I'm going to be putting in at the moment. So we are going to have that for you guys. They are willing to step up and do some exhibition game.
So this is going to round 2, and Mr. Falk is on Rug Delver.
Oh, so this is not an exhibition game.
Nope,
This is just round.
Yeah,
So
actually getting into the round 2.
excellent. So we've got Dylan up against Aaron. Aaron on that Omnitell that we saw at the end of the first round.
Yep.
And going up against a Rug Delver in the hands of Dylan, who will be on the left. So let's go ahead and head on down to the match, and we can talk a little bit more about it. See you guys down there. Okay, so we have got both players just getting ready at the moment, heading into Game 1 here in Round 2 from Geek Fortress. I am TJ, this is Joe, and as always, I know I say it a bunch, but of course it is the thing that I have the most fun with. If you do have any questions, comments, or feedback, please let us know in the chat. As always, I am learning, getting better, but still very much learning this Legacy format. And Joe is always open to the fact that he is often wrong because he has skewed views about how awesome certain things are. So, if we do say something incorrect, please feel free to correct us in that chat, and we can rectify our statements to reflect the truth.
Yeah, or we can just start a fight in the chat. That's always fun.
Or we can start a fight in the chat. Definitely. Alright. So this Delver deck going up against the Omnitell, we did see Omnitell take down Grixis Delver. Does Rug Delver have any tools that are going to improve this matchup?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I think Grixis Delver might have been the best matchup against Omnitell. You know, he's got, in addition to all his counter magic, he also has the hand disruption.
Mm-hmm.
So that's certainly not the worst thing. But Rug Delver, I feel like, might be a little more aggressive with his creatures. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is that they do lose a significant amount of that disruption. But one of the things that we did see from Ian's deck is just a significant lack of a clock once board control is established.
Right.
And so if we can see Dylan with a much more aggressive clock, then Aaron won't have time to really set that up as much. So Rug Delver, while I think it does have significantly less effective tools against this Omnitell deck,
Its clock is going to be much faster.
I think it's a lot more able to capitalize on whatever it is able to
We're
create.
going to be seeing Nimble Mongoose, we're going to be seeing Tarmogoyfs, in addition to the Delvers and Deathray Shamans, so could certainly just get a fast enough plot going that Omnitell didn't have time to get its combo out.
So which deck are you going to say is favored in this particular matchup? And also, chat, feel free to toss in which deck you are thinking is favored. That way we can get a little bit of a straw poll going.
I mean, I'd like to say Rug Delver, but I'm just not that big of an Omnitell fan, so
Okay.
I might be slightly biased here.
One of those skewed views coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, Omniscience, or Omnitell, named after Show and Tell, and Omniscience. Looks like Aaron going down to 5. Suddenly Rug Delver looking very favored.
Oh yeah, Rug Delver's looking a lot better now. And that is the problem playing combo.
Of course, and Omnitell definitely trying to land that Omniscience, a 10-mana spell, but don't worry, he was not going to be paying for it, because Show and Tell allows him to put it into play from his hand, and that's what's going to allow him to churn through so many cards in his deck, through a variety of tutors, wishes, and just some very haymaker cards that allow him to dig through that deck.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we're going to be looking to see from this Omniscience deck. Hopefully, accelerating the mana through cards like Ancient Tomb, which we were able to see also in the first round from that Mud deck.
Yep.
And hopefully, now do you know if they run anything other than Show and Tell as their main piece, like Through the Breach, anything like that?
I don't believe that Omnitell plays anything else. They mainly rely on cantrips, tutors, and wishes to find their Show and Tell. And that was why this deck saw a big drop in play once Dig Through Time was banned, because that was one of the most efficient ways to get their combo put together. Looks like Aaron is none too pleased with the opener here. Throwing back an Ancient Tomb off the top. But,
Okay, so we've got an early Gataxian Probe, gonna hopefully draw something. And a hand of... is that Stifle?
that is Stifle.
Stifle, Brainstorm, Bolt, and Delver. So with the Wasteland to help keep those lands in check.
Yep.
That's going to be a pretty effective hand. Not a whole lot of permission as it currently stands, but that Stifle is going to allow for hopefully maybe taking down a fetch land.
Yeah, oh man, stifling a fetch land is an amazing feeling. Being on the draw makes that a little more awkward because you want to be able to, you know, as here, play his Delver Secrets and get a threat in play. But that does mean on his next turn, we assume Delver's flipped. He's holding up a Stifle. He's got at least 1 mana up for it. And now Aaron's going to have to kind of dance around that, especially knowing that it is there.
Polluted Delta there?
Yep.
Now, one interesting thing with this Stifle is that he can actually stifle the trigger of Emrakul. Either the take an extra turn one, or if for some reason he just has him dead on the swing back, can also take down the Annihilator trigger. So,
yes, Stifle is very useful. We see a quick flip Delver getting in for some beats.
The only issue at that point is, like Emperor said, currently no Force of Will in hand. Maybe one from a draw, but I don't believe that we at least saw one.
Mm-hmm.
So if Aaron is able to get a very quick sneak and show, that could just be game over without a whole lot of way to disrupt that as it currently stands.
Mm-hmm.
Hello to Peter. Good to see you in the chat. Hope to see you coming in for some Legacy soon. Peter's, you know.
Yeah, I know Peter.
Excellent. Okay, so that Tarmogoyf, I think currently just a 2/3. Could you open the door and ask them to use the Tarmo dice, which should be directly next to them?
Yeah.
You just need to shout at them.
Yep. Tarmogoyf dice?
There's a
There's
Tarmo
a
dice.
dice for Tarmogoyf. Yeah, no worries. Alright.
Apparently they hadn't needed to calculate it yet, so they didn't. Okay, so a Wasteland taken down.
His Volcanic with a Cunning Wish in response.
Ah.
Getting him an Intuition. Presumably he's going to Intuition for his
Show and tell?
triple Show and Tells. That would be my guess. No guarantees.
With that land going down, but you know he does need to get to the third land again to be able to do that because he did spent the 3 men on the Wish.
Right, and we're seeing really pressing clock here. If
So that is a swing for 6. Pretty much, granted, just one card needs to go into the graveyard that is not already there.
right.
And we've got a next turn kill from Rug Delver, and a decent amount of draws have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that Intuition does mean that he has another 2 turns before he goes off. Might not be enough.
Correct.
It would basically come down to him somehow not letting... Yep.
And that's it.
And I think the problem is that if he does Intuition for the Show and Tell, that puts the Sorcery into the graveyard to grow that Goyf up to the 4/5.
Yep.
So, unfortunately...
Well, Intuition as an instant does allow him to Intuition post-combat. So take the 6.
Okay.
However, Rug Delver, being Rug Delver, that still does leave him open to a Lightning Bolt.
Oh, and we
So-
did have a Lightning Bolt in hand, actually,
Yep.
that we did see. So,
So-
that was definitely just a 1-turn clock.
Yep.
Didn't have it there. Rug Delver taking the game 1. While that was kind of what we were expecting, unfortunately we did see, I think, a mulligan to 5.
Yeah, I believe that was what Omnitell would go down to.
So-
which is always unfortunate coming out of combo deck.
A little bit unfortunate. Things that we could see out of the sideboard here. Again, this is kind of an odd deck. I'm going to see if I can find one that might be a little bit closer to what we were expecting.
I believe this... I think Omnitell is a slightly less established deck right now. It was much...
How about Omni Show? This looks much closer. So Ancestral Memories, so things that we could see happening. I don't think Electrickery, but
No, I don't think we're going to be seeing Electrickery just because the toughness of most of the creatures out of Rug Delver are going to be too high. It's going to get an unflipped Delver, but that's really about it.
Massacre. Let's see. Your opponent needs to control planes, so I don't think that we're going to see
No.
that. Firemind's Foresight is an interesting...
Firemind's Foresight is typically something that you will wish for post-Omniscience.
Okay. How about a Wipe Away?
Possible, but the one rough thing with Omnitell is a heavy portion of their sideboard is reserved for wish targets.
Yeah.
So it's not things that you can easily bring in. It's possible. I'm not I don't know this list too well. But Aaron might have the Young Pyromancers to bring in and kind of lean a little less heavily on his combo and just try and fight with creatures as well.
Okay.
But I think Delver's still going to be favored in that match.
So we are looking at Rug Delver here. I'm going to see if I can find a Rug Delver list. I see plenty of blue-red, but my guess is that that might be a little bit misleading, and some of those might have that green splash.
Yeah.
But not 100% sure on that one. Doesn't look like it as of yet, so I will keep you updated on if I end up finding any Rug Delver.
Alright.
Okay. Ooh, True Name Nemesis would be an excellent card in this matchup. Just tossing out some things.
Oh man, True Name is always a strong card.
So things that we could be seeing, Grafdigger's Cage, not very effective.
No.
How about Submerge? I don't think Omnitell runs Forests, does it? It's mostly a blue-red deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be seeing any green out of Omnitell.
Very unlikely.
Well, it's if your opponent controls the forest, right?
Yep. Could just some spell pierces. I see that a lot of those decks will have spell pierces in the side. So
For
it could be
sure.
that both decks are just going to be trying to up their counter magic.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's kind of what I'm expecting as it currently stands out of it.
Yeah. And looking at a early ponder off Aaron, and per protocol, shuffling it away, not finding what he wants.
Yep. And just a basic island. Really, honestly, one of these days, I'm going to talk to David, see if I can just get a ponder keep counter. Because I would like to just keep track of how many times we actually see someone ponder and not shuffle.
Right.
Because at a certain point, you might as well just draw.
Yeah.
But I suppose, if it is there, it is there. But it certainly doesn't happen very often. I could probably count on definitely 2 hands, probably 1 hand.
Wow.
The amount of times that I've seen it. Granted, I haven't seen as much Legacy as you.
Right.
And especially not paying attention to their ponders. At
Right.
least. Yeah.
Right.
So, a polluted Delta from Rogue Delver, but no turn 1 plays.
And
So,
we've just seen another ponder out of Omnitell. We did see Rug Delver draw a Wasteland there, which unfortunately is no targets yet, but we could be seeing something soon.
yeah, those basic islands acting, and there's a Ponder Keep.
Alright.
That is a non-shuffle Ponder.
It looks like a Spell Pierce Force of Will that Rug Delver's holding up, so he has some counter magic going on. Possibly he was just holding off his turn 1 to make sure he had...
But a Force of Will and Show and Tell in this Omnitell's deck, their biggest issue at the moment is that they are stuck on 1 land. So
For
all
sure.
the combo in hand, I think I even saw a Force of Will backup.
And just no mana to get it going.
But unfortunately, no mana to get it going. So if this Omnitell deck is able to get some mana, possibly some more cantrips to dig into those, we could really see this Omnitell deck go off. Though that Spell Pierce and Force of Will from this Delver deck are going to have something to say about it.
For sure. And that's an interesting ponder keep if he didn't have that extra land he needed on his last turn.
So this
So you're just seeing ponder after ponder here.
Aaron on the Omnitell
Shuffle
going for
away.
a shuffle on his 3rd ponder, still just a basic island in play, with Dylan just establishing a board with a volcanic island and a tropical island. So not a whole lot happening on his side of the board, nothing proactive yet, so playing a little cautiously from what I would expect
Right.
from this deck. Again, something that I've yet to really be put through a long amount of sessions watching this Rogue
Right.
Delver deck, but I'm more accustomed to seeing it more active.
Alright, and there's your active threat there.
Alright, so Tarmogoyf hitting, maybe just wanted to keep up that mana, a Spell Pierce still an option. Aaron discarding at the end step that Emrakul, shuffling those ponders back into the library.
There we go.
And we're going to see a Force of
Force.
Will with an Ancestral Memories.
Ooh. And there's that Spell Pierce out of Falk. Are we going to see that second Force come into play from Aaron? Kind of needs it to protect his combo, but at this point, that oof. Yeah, that Goyf
With,
was just going to rip him
Wish.
apart.
Yep. Now, one interesting thing is, what I thought was a show and tell might have been this Ancestral Memories, the card that has been getting used to replace Dig Through Time.
Right.
In these lists, 5 mana with almost the exact same effect as Dig Through Time, except that the cards do go to your graveyard.
Right.
So they can help your threshold, I suppose. But otherwise, functionally the same. Except for cost.
Right.
But once you have an Omniscience out, I mean,
Yeah.
what is cost? That's for peasants.
Not an instant, which is notable. Yeah. It's just sorcery speed, so you don't get to... What is it? Ancient Memories? Yeah, you don't
Ancestral
get
Memories.
Ancestral Memories. You don't get Ancestral Memories in response to your opponent's show and tell whatever trigger, but it is still
okay.
certainly a good dig card.
A sorcery over an instant is a little bit significant. That's a great
Oh,
point.
yeah.
I have a feeling that Dylan's logged in on the same account that we are. Because I did not type that.
Yeah, I don't think there actually are any real... Ooh, we are seeing Show and Tell and Omniscience and Emrakul all in Omnitell's hand.
How many Emrakuls do they normally run? Do you happen to know?
I
'Cause if it's-
guess between 1 and 2.
Because I will be curious if... Okay, so 2, but that still means that he either drew both of them or he drew the one that he shuffled away, which is
It's
pretty
possible.
impressive.
Mm-hmm. Oof. And that is certainly a clock out of Delver. Seeing that click to disrupt Omnitell's hand, and a Mongoose, which no threshold yet, but I anticipate we're going to see it get pretty big pretty soon here. Up to 6 in his yard with a fetch in play. All he has to do is crack it and nearly double his clock.
So, and anticipate... Man, Peter nailing that spelling. With the correction to only further its aid. There we go.
Alright.
Now, Peter here to show us tell. There's a pun. Oh, man. But otherwise, we've got this click and this nimble Mongoose, able to apply a lot of pressure. Just a 2-turn clock from. And, you know, knowing that this deck might also have... Ooh, and a Stifled taking down that fetch land.
Brutal.
So, wow. Aaron down to 10, definitely in trouble.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of ways. There's... Excuse me.
Alright, and Aaron down to 4.
Even a fetch land at this point puts him with at risk of a bolt that...
I think really at that point what he needed was a Ancient Tomb, putting him to 2, getting his combo going, but that click did some real damage to his hand. So.
And a Pyroblast, or is that Red Element Blast?
Yeah, Red Element... No, this is Pyroblast.
Pyroblast in hand of Dylan with protection. So, Dylan getting that game in 2, Rug Delver taken down, so Delver certainly getting some vengeance for its other Delver.
Yep.
And would you like to do me another favor?
Try and go find someone?
I would love it.
You got it.
Excellent. So we're going to try and get another match for you all. If you did hear him, Aaron, as Joe walked out, said, "One land will not get you there." A lesson that we can all take to heart there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it back up to us. Hello. And for those of you just joining, my name is TJ. Joe is my fantastic co-host of the night. We are doing some Legacy, currently in round 2. I think we just have your standard 8-person tournament. So I think just 3 rounds tonight. Legacy a little bit slower tonight, but expecting a big Modern turnout tomorrow at 6 o'clock Pacific, so be sure to join us then. Otherwise, if you do have any comments, questions, feedback, let us know in the chat. Half the fun is interacting with you guys. And also, if you want to hit that follow button, we are always a big fan. Prop. The royal us is the best us. But we will never be royals. It just doesn't run in our bloodmans. Alright. So Joe currently on a quest to find us another match. We do have about a little over half an hour left in this round 2, so we should be able to get another match for you, either heading into Game 2 or Game 3. So stick around for just a minute or 2 with me. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, things that you would like me to discuss, or just comments for me, let me know in the chat. Sometimes during games, I can get a little bit distracted by what is happening on the field, so if you want to put @GeekFortress within your questions, comments, things like that.
New faces on the stream, new decks at least. So we've got Eli on Reanimator against the wall, and Corbin playing Goblins as his opponent.
Alright, so Reanimator. This is pretty close to your stock blue, black, red list. It does have red for Is It Charm, I believe?
Yeah, it's blue, black with a splash, red and green, I believe.
For Abrupt Decay?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know what game that they are heading into?
Game 3, so I would assume just 1 and 1. I believe Reanimator got their game 1 and had to concede game 2 because he forgot how to sideboard. As in he forgot he had a sideboard.
Excellent. So
Yep.
let's go ahead and head on down to the match.
Yeah.
See you there. Alright, welcome back. We are heading into Game 3 with Reanimator going up against Goblins. Elish Norn, pretty much a very key piece, along with Iona in this matchup. Peter, as much as I hope you to do well at Regionals, I do hope that you join us tomorrow nonetheless.
And interesting thing for the Reanimator player, I think Elish Norn is going to be his big powerhouse here. As much as Iona on red would be awesome against Goblins, his Aether Vials certainly has something to say about that as well.
That is a decent point. And also just if you can establish a quick enough board.
For sure.
I still have a hard time imagining that Goblins is wildly favored in this matchup. I think it comes down to using things like Rashad and Port.
Being able to port quickly and efficiently. I mean, I think really what Goblins needs here is an undisputed turn 1 Aether Vial with a turn 2 port to back it up. I mean, it's going to be tough. Their Game 2 ended very quickly. I was walking around taking stock of the event. Saw them just starting Game 2 and immediately move into Game 3 because Reanimator forgot to board in his response to Grafdigger's Cage.
And so one hit the battlefield and that was the end of that?
Yep.
Alright.
That was an entire game. Turn 2 Grafdigger's Cage and moving to Game 3.
Interesting that he isn't running any like abrupt decays or anything like that.
They are in the sideboard.
Really?
Yes.
That seems a little bit interesting to me, but if
It's
that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
I mean, a lot of what he needs to use the abrupt decays on are sideboard cards themselves. So it's generally you bring them in Game 2, assuming you know what your opponent is bringing in. So, you know.
And usually you can just expect some sort of grave hate because it'll also take down Rest in Peace.
Right.
So I think Abrupt Decay is similar to, and again, unfortunately sometimes I do have to compare things just to Modern because that's where my biggest knowledge base comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems very similar to the siding in of Thought Seizes in Affinity, not because you necessarily need it, but because very likely you're going to want to hit those powerful hate cards that come in.
Right.
Because the graveyard is just such a powerful thing that you can have everyone's packing hate.
Right.
So, Emperor, I'm a little bit curious about this blue-white Bears deck in Modern. So, sometime between rounds or at the end, I know that you and I are probably open to sticking around for a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
All right, I'm
if
guessing.
you hang around the whole time, I would love to get some thoughts on that deck at the end.
Step 1, place out of Meddling Mages. Good to go. I mean, the deck builds itself.
You know, I did play Meddling Mage in Modern for a little bit.
Yeah.
In my notorious Esper Delver terrible deck. And the card was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. Place out of mainboard mages, forces you to pay attention, know what your weaknesses are, and just piss off every combo deck in the room.
Also, you can Aether Violet in response to a Miracle Trigger.
Oh my god, I've done that, and it's the best feeling in the world. Oh man, screwing with Miracles players just warms my heart.
Bonfire Trigger? Great, you can cast Bonfire. And enjoy your
yeah.
day.
Oh yeah. I've
I said good day, sir.
violent a mage in response to someone revealing a Terminus. I had one player, Hellbent, end of turn, flips his Aether or his Divining Top in an attempt to resolve Entreat the Angels, try and get me. Miracle Trigger on the stack, vialed in a Corrupt Court Official. He's free to choose and discard any one card from his hand. His one card in hand is an Entreat with the Miracle Trigger on the stack.
And you would have lost too if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
I was dead to rights at that point. And
So 2 Pile Drivers in the hand of Corbin along with... I think I do see Rashad and Port, or possibly a Wasteland. They both kind of have that same border.
yep, looks. I think it was a Port.
Third from the left? Is that where you were looking as well?
Yeah,
So-
he's got a bit of his control lands in hand. That's definitely good for him.
Yep, and Reanimator shuffling. Good way to start.
Yeah, yeah, good for Goblins to see that. Unfortunately for Goblins, Reanimator still has a lot of capacity to push through. I have personally lost to a Molta 4 turn 2 Reanimate Elish Norn. So
They only need
Reanimators-
3 cards, really. In theory, they only need a Swamp,
A Swamp,
Entomb,
Reanimate, Entomb, yep. And that gets you a turn 2 whatever response you're dire for. And Elish Norn is...
That
is
is...
that a no-lander with Reanimate, Double
I think-
Force, Ponder, and a... Oof. And a
Wow.
Careful Study. That is brutal.
Seeing some harsh mulligans on the tables today.
Yeah, so, unless Eli gets pretty lucky here, this might just be a fast game for Goblins.
On the bright side, he's just going to get a hand of 2 lands, 3 brainstorms, call it a day. That's solid. That's money.
There you go.
That's
2
money.
fetches, 3 brainstorms. Can't throw that back.
Exactly. On the draw
Already
plane, or draw an island.
Yep.
Easy.
There you go. Nah, man.
Okay. Goblins. Go ahead and give us a quick rundown of this Goblins deck. It seems to be kind of an aggro control deck, from what I understand. So
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting deck. It feels very aggro at times, but it's really a control deck at heart, running Wastelands, Rashadon Ports to kind of mess around with its opponent's mana base.
Dang it.
Oh man, Goblin Lackey. I think there's an Ian Lackey.
I think you are correct.
Uh,
Sometimes I type quick and it doesn't go well
there
for
it is.
me.
Oh man, Goblin Lackey is beautiful.
Okay,
Hey,
so
congrats 8 farms. So, backbreaking another mulligan out of Reanimator.
down to 4.
Oh man, I mean he's not out, but he's in a tight place.
So this Goblins deck, basically using, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, but a suite of mana denial in Rashadon Port and Wasteland to keep your opponent from doing anything, and you circumventing that fact, because when you do that, you're kind of denying your own mana.
Right.
By using things like Aether Vial, Goblin Lackey, to really cheat those things in.
And I believe this player might also be playing the Warren Instigator, unless I'm mistaken. Basically, a Goblin Lackey with Double Strike, which is amazingly powerful.
And then, as you get towards that end of the game, you have powerful cards like Goblin Matron.
Goblin Matron, Goblin Ringleader, all of the Lords. It really just gets going fast and can deal a ton of damage.
Okay. So, that is kind of a quick rundown on the Goblin deck. Almost like a mono-red tempo in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Ooh. And turn 1, Careful Study out of Reanimator. Oh.
Looks like a Force of Will, a Brainstorm, a...
Animate Dead, and I'm not 100% on the last card.
maybe a land?
Could be. Oh yeah, Pile Driver is an amazingly strong card out of Goblins.
Only in Legacy, as it turns out. In Modern, significantly less so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It can just be an all-star, dealing insane amounts of damage. Pro Blue, certainly relevant. Oh, that is a rough discard out of Reanimator. Having to cast a Careful Study on turn 1 without a distinct threat in hand to pitch, really rough. I mean, we already saw him mull down to 4, so we knew this wasn't going to be easy for him. But that's just sad to see. And there's that turn 1 cage. Could very well be over.
Is there a Goblin deck for Modern? There is a No Lords Goblins. It's basically an all-out aggro deck. The biggest draw to Goblins in Modern is Goblin Grenade. That is the reason to run Goblins, because 1 mana for 5 damage is insane.
Yeah.
25% of your opponent's life total. So there is a user online who goes by the name of Hella Kevin, who innovated this deck and really is the one who got it going with No Lords Goblins, to where he was looking at a lot of the Goblins decks that people tried, and it was very similar to Merfolk, in which it was trying to get to those Lords,
Right.
build up a presence like that, and you know what he said is, let's not be a worse Merfolk. And let's
enough.
just be the deck that we can be, which is a really fast aggro deck, already effective, and then the reason why we're doing this as opposed to anything else, Goblin Grenade. Easily, probably the best Goblin card that you have access to in Modern, at least.
Alright. So, looking at this match, that's an interesting choice on Eli's fetch here, going for a second Underground Sea. I think really what he needs to do right now, and, yes, for the stream, I believe we do see Goblins running Pyroblast out of the board. I think Reanimate would have been best to sit on that fetch, wait to hold up a green source so they can Abrupt Decay their Grafdigger's Cage when they need it. Going for the double Underground Sea there seems a bit odd. But, yeah, there's a Lackey out of Goblins, which is going to just start overwhelming the field, and Eli is not going to be good at plays. Oh, those are just the very pretty Apex Swamps. That's what Eli was holding on to.
Okay.
So, and we know whatever Corbin's attempting to cast, he is sticking unconditionally. Eli's got an Animate Dead plus other, no counter magic to be seen.
Really unfortunate to see that that Force will go to the graveyard, only to get immediately followed up by Grafdigger's Cage.
Oh yeah, that's rough, but I mean, what's he gonna do?
What are you going to do?
He would have had to have kept the Force of Will Brainstorm without discarding the Animate Dead Swamp. And, you know, that's not a good position to be in, because then he would have been completely empty-handed just for forcing that Grafdigger's Cage. And it looks like seeing a Pile Driver, and I don't quite recognize the other Goblin there, but a Hardcast Aether Vial too. Reanimators, I don't know. I want to say that Goblins has this.
Goblins is looking extremely favored right now.
Oh, yeah.
Not a Goblin Assassin, very likely. If you guys know what Goblin that is, please let us know. I'm pretty sure we had this same issue last time with a Goblin.
And I believe it was just a 1-drop because he cast it on the same turn as his Aether Vial. Those spicy Goblins decks playing all sorts of cool sideboard tech.
Alright, we've got a Cavern hitting the battlefield, so any counter magic, even though we aren't expecting a ton of it, not effective at the moment.
Right.
Skirk Prospector, thank you very much. We appreciate that. I'm pretty sure we came up with the exact same card last time. I really need to memorize the art on this card. That is what I'm learning.
Yeah.
So that Skirk Prospector allows him to sacrifice a Goblin to add a red mana to his mana pool.
Interesting choice.
Also a 1/1, but when you're doing such a mana denial game plan, can end up really digging you out of some holes.
Oh, for sure. And you can generate a ton of mana depending on what your board state looks like. Between a Siege Gang Commander and Krenko. Gives you plenty of Goblins to be thrown away.
Is he running Krenkos in his deck?
I'm not sure. That is a very popular choice for Goblins decks, however.
Okay.
A Desperate Ponder out of Reanimator. Things are going south for him very quickly at this point.
I think things went south for him at the Mulligans.
Yes.
Down to 4, having to careful study without anything actually relevant to be put into the graveyard.
Right.
Just nothing going right on this game 3,
No.
unfortunately.
I mean, and really you want to be holding your careful study until you know what you're discarding. It's not so much a means of drawing cards, it's a means of turning on your combo, is how you really want to treat it. And just a desperate, careful study, you know, as a last-ditch effort to draw on turn 1 is never going to feel good for him.
Alright. Sorry, just lightly expanding this, since it was just a little bit off. Okay. Let's see. Still 3, but not a whole lot going on there.
Do you want to grab Reanimator's life total?
Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so we do have Reanimator down to 10 off of these swings. That Goblin Lackey putting in a lot of damage. Everything else pretty much supplementary. That Pile Driver now is the big haymaker.
Oh, yeah.
I should not caps lock. Alright. So we got a swing for 5,
like
6, 7?
7?
7, and then a Goblin coming into play.
Oh, man.
So let's see what we've got. Or even if there's a bolt in the hand of this Goblin's player. I'm not sure if they do run it, but I would imagine that they do.
I don't believe they do. Oh, another Aether Vial.
No Goblin to put in, so running Light Iron Goblins in the hand at least. And
Hitting Needle. I wonder what that's on. Not really any targets out of Reanimator. Hapless
Gristlebrand?
Research? I suppose, yeah, Gristlebrand.
But when they're at 3 life, that's
when they're
hardly a
3 life.
priority.
Oh, that is unfortunate. He's got the Abrupt Decay. And he's got the Elvish Norn and the Animate Dead in hand, which gives him a Reanimate without having to pay life, but
just not enough mana to do it.
not enough mana, not enough means, and much too late into the game. That is very unfortunate. Alright, so looks like the Goblins taking down this match. And, let me go have a quick look, see if anyone's still playing.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. To those who are going to bring it back up to us for just a quick moment while we are looking for another match to show you. So, thank you for joining us. My name is TJ, which is now right above my head. Joe is my wonderful co-host.
Alright, so that was the end of the match.
Excellent.
And the last match in the round, so we'll be getting our final match pairings pretty soon.
Round 3 coming up.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, our final round. Though, do not fret, we'll be sticking around a little bit afterwards to hang out, talk a bit, have some fun with you guys.
For sure.
So, should be having a good time with that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if you want to hit that follow button, we certainly appreciate that. If you are strictly a Legacy watcher, we do these streams weekly.
Yep.
At 7:30 on Fridays. And if you also happen to be interested in Modern, you can also find us on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock and Saturdays at 6.
Yep.
These are all Pacific time, so whatever time it is there, it is currently 9:18 here to just help you make that adjustment.
Yeah. And for those asking the stream, this came up the last time I was here too. The Lackey reprint, that specifically I believe is a Vintage Masters reprint. It was, however, reprinted in a... Oh shoot! That art is originally from From the Vault Exiled.
Yes.
So, for everyone out there wondering, that's what that Lackey is.
It is an interesting art. Yep. Personally, I actually kind of prefer the original art myself.
The original has some class to it, but
I think it might just because it's Urza's Saga.
Yeah, I do like what they've got going on in the new one, but
I think it's
there's something about the old.
I think it's very much the fact that the first one is so recognizable.
Yes.
Because I will agree that the new art is significantly better.
Yeah.
In almost every
yeah.
conceivable way. The Goblin does not look like it is a 7th grader who happened to find his way into the wrong classroom.
Right.
You know, the coloring is much better. And this is nothing against the original artist. That's just how Magic was at the time.
Right.
But the art, very recognizable. This new one, not very. It's because, you know, it does have that similar feel to other Goblins, which is good. But from the perspective of me looking at a nitty-bitty card on a table, not as good. Luckily, I've gotten good at recognizing that one. Slayer. Or, I'm sorry, J. Deggs. J. Deggs, thank you very much. We really appreciate that compliment.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Joe is definitely... This is your second time in the booth, I think, officially, at least for doing a full stream. So it is fantastic to have you.
Glad to be here.
And I'm looking forward to working with you more in the future. As far as Legacy goes, it's a blast having you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, we did some good old snooping, found out where that card was from. The guy in the back... Now I gotta look at the other Goblin Lackey to see what you're talking about with the guy going E. See, they very much both look like they just found their way, I don't know. Let's see, what's the... All bark, someone else's bite? Oh.
Alright, so what's going on here is the old Goblin Lackeys coming at you going, I bet my dad could beat up your dad.
And he's
My dad
hiding
could
behind
totally take your dad in a fight. Go get him, Dad.
That was uncomfortably accurate. Alright, but our store is located in Snohomish, Washington. For those of you who know where Seattle is, we're about 45 minutes north of that. To get a little bit more specific, if you know where Everett is, we are about 15 minutes east of that.
Yep.
So, that is where we are. Feel free to come and play with us if you are somewhat local.
Yeah.
Certainly worth the drive. We're a pretty fun bunch.
Yeah.
And we always like to get new players on stream when we can.
Oh, always great.
It's always a hoot, a holler, and I couldn't think of another thing to alliterate with. Heck of a time. You haven't become an adult until you forced your dad to fight the neighbor's dad.
I don't think you're an adult until you stop forcing your dad to fight the neighbor's dad.
I don't think you're an adult until your son forces you to fight the neighbor's dad.
I mean, also, yes.
Go get him. Oh, fine. My dad fights for only if he's a football player. That's a little bit of an odd reference. There was an old football... Well, not an old... He was young at the time. But there was a football player who I think was on the Bears. Bears weren't my favorite team, so I don't know that for certain. But he went by the name of the Refrigerator because he was tall enough and had these arms that he was able to basically hold two players at once as a lineman.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so he got the name of the Refrigerator because he was as wide as one. Just big dude.
All right.
So, if your dad happens to be that football player, then... First of all, a lot of respect there.
Right.
Second of all, I don't want my dad to fight your dad.
For sure.
Oh, man. Anyway, getting ready to head into round 3 here. Should be getting an update on the match very shortly from the store owner who is in charge. Otherwise, you said that was the last match of the round?
Yep.
Excellent.
So hopefully we're
apparently he was also a running back. My bad there. Thank you for correcting me, Beltomatic.
Yep.
As we learn is that both we can be corrected on Legacy and also on some old school football stats
Pretty
and
much
facts.
everything.
Yeah, pretty much correct us.
Yeah.
Correct us all the time, but
Yep.
only when we're wrong. Because when we're right, we're getting it.
Yeah.
We're getting after it. Gotta keep the puns up. That is certainly something that we
Right.
gotta do.
Yeah.
Dude sounds quite the athlete. Oh, absolutely, he was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so getting ready for round 3. Should be a lot of fun. Probably gonna get our finals matchup on there, just so that we can kind of see.
Yep.
And otherwise, for those of you who are just joining us who may have some questions about some of the arts, like for the instance, the fact that we had a from the Vault Exiled / Vintage Masters. Our Legacy tournaments, for those of you wondering if you want to come in and play with us, we do allow proxies in ours.
Yep.
That's something that we started doing. We no longer sanction our tournaments and have started allowing proxies so that we can have people trying new things at a significantly lower cost and also get some of those new players into Legacy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice. I like it. And, yeah, with the proxies, you'll notice people playing, Vintage Masters cards that were never actually printed. That's where those are coming from.
it is super cool, but also leads to testing our knowledge of art just a little bit more.
Yeah, be like, oh, this is that weird tropical island that was printed for Vintage Masters once and is really unrecognizable because no one knows.
Yes, but now they're allowed to use playtest cards.
Playtest cards.
Nailed that way. That wasn't weird at all.
Right.
Man.
It allows people to come in and experiment and playtest new decks that they've never heard of, like Miracles and Rug Delver, some really new fringe tech.
Yeah, we really like to expand our
Yeah.
horizons. Oh man, we like to expand our horizon canopies. Yeah.
I like moving into some new and unexplored endless horizons myself.
Ooh, nice one. That's better than mine. You win.
That was a deck I actually played once.
Man, you are taking me into some uncharted realms.
It's always good to get out there and explore.
Oh,
That's
delightful.
low-hanging.
I just want a high tide. Yep,
Yeah, alright.
absolutely.
Feel free.
High tide is such a sweet deck.
It's a deck that I have a weirdly good record against with decks that shouldn't beat it.
Really?
Yeah.
I think part of that might be that high tide is such an unusual deck that people just may not be able to be the best pilots when they first pick it up.
For sure.
Or
Or, just get very unlucky. Like, back when Dig Through Time was legal, seeing 5 lands and 2 Force of Wills halfway through comboing out.
Yay!
It happens.
Such is life. I mean, there
Yeah.
are situations like, if you ever find yourself going up against, say, Feline Lawnmower, you're gonna have a bad time.
Alright.
She's very good at that deck.
That is actually a player that I do know.
Yeah.
I sat next to her once and watched her, and she lost because it was her via Mono Blue Omnitell, and her opponent just hard cast his Omniscience, like, on turn 15. It looked like just a nightmare to be in that. That was game 1, I'm pretty sure. It was painful to watch.
Hello, Crashing. Welcome back. Always a staple in our chat. That's one of our local players.
Alright.
Yep. Alright, so...
Miracles is more of an intentional draw. That's like a known fact when you build the deck. Your goal is to go OOX. That's just what you do. That's your job.
Pretty much, but of course this is coming from the player who built Secretariat.
Yeah.
So,
My deck like never draws unless my opponent's doing something wrong.
one quick note for some of you. We have yet to get a good list for Gentleman Quarterly, the deck that we came up with 2 weeks ago.
Jesus.
But if someone does come up with a list and gets it to us, Joe will pilot it. I'm told.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry, David Bradbury.
Yeah, I was
David
gonna say.
Bradbury was our volunteer pilot.
Oh, Secretariat.
So Secretariat
It's-
is 4 horsemen.
Yeah, it's a variant on 4 Horsemen playing
Quicken.
Quicken, thank you. Oh. Cards that do things. So you play Quicken so that you can instant speed Dread Return so that the graveyard order doesn't matter, thereby circumventing the main slow play issue with the deck, and rendering it perfectly legal and still horrible and something you should never play.
As for 8 Farmers probably asking about Gentleman Quarterly, 2 weeks ago while on stream, Joe and I came up with this wonderful deck, which is basically the point of our deck is to cast at least 6 Ghost Quarters / Wastelands per turn.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is you have Crucible of Worlds out,
Yep.
and then through a mixture of Explorations, Explorers, Azusa Lost but Seeking. What else did we have in there? Oracle of Moldiah. Pretty much anything that allows you to cast or play extra lands in each turn. Then you do that. I came up with a win condition.
Oh, yeah?
So in this deck, we would run Retreat to Coralhelm because of the just a lot of landfall ability.
Right.
Becomes pretty solid, right? Dryad Arbors, because they're such a resilient creature that we can get out. And, get this, some number of Splinter Twin. Because if you put Splinter Twin onto your Dryad Arbor with a Retreat to Coralhelm out...
It's just infinite.
Exactly. Yeah, that is what I came up with. This is the...
That's something.
And we call it Gentleman Quarterly because that is the same initials as Ghost Quarter,
There we
GQ.
go.
So, that is our fun little brew. Is it good? No. Is it fun? No. But is it awesome?
Yes.
Yes. Innovation is key to anything fun.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, still just hanging out, waiting for our third round to begin. Looks like we're just waiting on a couple of things. Maybe the draft is getting underway,
That's
something like that.
probably it.
But I hear him out there, so let's ask him. Are you guys playing?
Oh, Dylan.
Dylan didn't tell us.
You're 3 feet away. I can't be on top of it every game.
Oh.
That's okay. Just did not realize. Okay,
Alright, so we
do you
already-
know the name on the right?
I do not. Let me go get it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we do have Rug Delver going up against something, which we are finding out now.
It is Paul.
What is Paul's last name? We don't even know. What's he playing?
I saw he had Blood Red Elf in place.
Let's just go ahead and head on down. We can update it as needed.
So I'm guessing this is a Punishing Jund-esque deck from Paul.
Looks like Punishing Jund. Okay. And Doro is back. Hey, Doro.
I'll probably want to update the game count for this. I assume
yes.
this isn't game 3 quite yet.
I think we can make that same assumption. So, sorry about that. Didn't quite realize that we had another round up, but we are down there watching Rug Delver go up against Punishing Jund. Punishing Jund down to 8, so it looks like this game won fairly in the favor of the Delver deck. And well, you're going to get a Tarmogoyf, which is going to act as a roadblock. Currently going to stand well in the way of that Nibble Mongoose, and if that Delver doesn't flip, could be a possible way to get back into this game.
For sure.
Okay.
And speaking of which, no flip on that Delver, but a fetch, because Delver did not like what he was seeing.
Okay. Let's see. If your deck is a vintage deck that uses Crucible of Worlds, Zurin Orb, you're a big fan of that.
Oh, yeah.
Fast Bond and Strip Mine.
Cobra Storm.
Cobra Storm just sounds like something that, very, very G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
I'd call knowledge is half the battle would be my tagline for that deck.
I feel like vintage is either going to be like aggressively controlling or janky as all get out, or both.
Or both.
It's, just a key element of the format.
So getting aggressive with this Tarmogoyf makes me think that he has some answer in hand.
I hope so, considering the flip Delver.
So possibly an Abrupt Decay, something like that. Because otherwise,
Could be.
that seems like a pretty large gamble with that.
No, that was just that.
Okay.
He was getting greedy.
Getting greedy. So we've got a win out of this Delver deck in its game 1, getting ready for game 2.
Yep.
Okay. Now what is this that Doro is saying with the Pro Tour this weekend? What are the top 10 decks are? It is pretty possible that we're going to see a spike in some modern prices, but on the bright side, not sure if there is one. Yeah, there is. There will be some sweet decks, and it also just helps sell some stuff, get that secondary market moving.
As we push Modern to be more expensive, players are going to realize they might as well just play Legacy because it costs them the same There's your upside.
That's true. We are in the Legacy stream, so now's the time to make that argument.
Oh, yeah.
But, I don't know, I'm not sure if that it's going to end up spiking a ton of cards, because a lot of them are already established to be pretty good and expensive. I think the biggest things will be that Chalice, maybe Simian Spirit Guide.
Is Chalice going up again?
Chalice is going up.
I
The
knew I
Pantheon.
had 7 for a reason.
There's an Eldrazi deck that is running Simian Spirit Guide and Chalice in basically a colorless deck, trying to get that on turn 1.
Sounds fun.
I think that one will pretty much change in the end, because that's definitely a meta call when you're expecting a lot of aggro decks at the Pro Tour, much less kind of that established.
Chalice is 50. What is that nonsense?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Makes me happy that I have 3. Your 7 are certainly looking a lot better now, but Death Shadow rising in price.
$10.
Yep.
What?
Death Shadow aggro, I think, went undefeated.
Oh my
Day
god,
one.
it's like a dime rare. What is this nonsense?
A dime rare.
That's worth nothing.
Only a dime if you're talking in dollars.
That's too much.
Thalia is
Oh,
just
man.
6.
Why do all my silly cheap decks keep getting price spikes out of the silliest cards?
Because people realize that how good they are
No,
when
they
you play them.
They are not.
Yeah.
Death Shadow is not a $10 card. Nourishing Shoal should never have gone above, like, 25 cents.
But it led
Oh
to,
my God.
basically, when I saw that Gristlebrand deck in Modern, I saw that and I thought, Joe would approve.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm
It is
not a
almost
big
the
fan.
exact same premise.
I don't like it.
How is it that you run Nourishing Lich?
I don't like Gristlebrand. It
Man,
runs Goryo's Vengeance. I've got a beef with that card.
you've got a beef with the Goryo's Vengeance?
Yeah, because it reminds me of Tin Fins.
Okay.
I hate Tin Fins.
I always think of that as like a merfolk. Every time I see Tin Fins, it makes me think of merfolk.
Right.
I thought it was like an artifact merfolk when I was first starting.
Yeah, that Tin Fin Modern deck. Hate
Pretty
that
much.
thing.
It's essentially it. Card should have been $10 a long time ago, clearly, because I have that sweet Mana Clash Death Shadow modern deck.
Oh, yeah, that is a pretty spicy deck.
Right?
I know. I like it in the Veryl's Scavenge deck, running Lotleth Troll.
Probably a mulligan from that Rug Delver. Yep.
Yeah.
I think 5 of those cards were lands.
A lot of lands and a couple of stifles. And Punishing Jund looking at God, all those weird proxy lands that you can't tell are lands. Looks like some bolts and a God, what was the name of that elf thing?
The Bloodbraid Elf?
Yes.
So I also see a Wasteland,
Not bad.
do see Bolt. Looks like 4 lands, though, so maybe a little bit much, but keep in the hand. Probably just
I
more
mean-
important to curve out.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, being able to, just holding the mana to hit his Blood Red Elf if nothing else is going on, certainly not bad.
That is true.
But, considering both of the decks, being able to hold all of your lands might be difficult.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so a turn 1 Death Threat Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna help accelerate definitely into those
Oh, for sure.
3 mana plays. I mean, a turn 3 Bloodbraid Elf is a pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, do you happen to know the origin of the name Timftins? Because I don't.
No, I actually don't know the name on that one.
If anybody knows the origin of the name Tinfins, please let me know. I'm a
Mhm.
bit curious about that one.
Yeah.
Alright, so we've got...
Turn 2 or 3 Gristlebrand is just Legacy Reanimator. I don't know why you need to build something fancy to do that.
mostly lack of Entomb and Reanimate and Animate Dead. And Exhume.
You just play Legacy then. Problem solved.
It's
Oof.
only named for that for C-Lab. Also, Inkmoth Nexus from Reddit. Big fan. Okay. So, that is ridiculous. But,
Oh my
good to
God.
know. The fact that that deck is a reference to C-Lab might just bring it down a little bit in my mind, to be honest. I think C-Lab's biggest accomplishment is doing a crossover with Archer.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see if Rug Delver's run out of mana denial yet.
Well, Inkmoth on Reddit, thanks for joining us. I'm not sure if I've seen you in our chat before, so if you are new, welcome. If you ever do have any questions, comments, or feedback, just let us know. And, yeah, thanks for joining. Also, anybody else who is new, feel free to hit that follow button. Always makes me happy to see lots of emails to the owner. Lets me get a lot of, well, at least it gives me some leverage to ask for wiggle room from the owner. Okay, so we've got a polluted delta and a volcanic island in play for that Rug Delver player. Doing a ponder at the moment.
Ooh, let's see if he's keeping.
Going for a
Oh,
key.
he is. I guess not being a combo player, I think generally makes keeping ponders a bit easier when there's not, exactly one card you need. So,
Alright, so we have what I believe to be a Badlands and a Verdant Catacombs. No, that's a Bloodstained Mire.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, 2 fetches, Jund. We're going to fetch a duel in Delver. What do we have coming in here? Brainstorm. This looks like Delver was a little heavy on the hate and mana denial, and he's running a bit late.
Alright. So we do have the fetch land in play. Looks like a Spell Pierce coming down off that. And just going to put a couple of lands on top and then shuffle those away from the looks of it.
I would assume so.
Seems like a reasonable play with 4 lands currently in hand.
So for these events, we're allowing as many proxies as you need. So we've seen, a full 75. So, pretty much anything goes.
The only stipulation is that if you win credit, you got to spend on the cards that you're proxying.
Correct. So, you don't walk in, play Rug Delver every week because you think you're going to win, and then use that to build lands. You have to buy the cards for the deck you've been playing.
So that is our only stipulation. Basically put that in so that we could try and get both a bigger variety of decks from people who wanted to try out those decks.
Right. So you can try something new, or you can just get into Legacy, even though you can't afford, 12 dual lands to build a brand new deck. Just a lot of people don't have that kind of money and don't want to, I'm going to spend $4,000 over the next 8 years to build a deck and hopefully still have friends to play with. It's much easier this way.
Oh, man. Joe, it makes me sad that you think that you might not have friends in 4 years. That's a pretty sad...
Well, I mean, not the exact same friends. Maybe I moved. Who knows?
Okay. I gotcha. Just sell my modern decks. Doubtful.
There you go. Yeah, do that.
I'm a big fan of them.
I highly encourage this line of thought.
Alright, so it looks like now we're getting a Badlands and Bayou off of that.
I'm assuming this weird jankety-ass art.
That is correct. I mean,
Yeah.
you get to pick which pieces you end up buying, but still gives us an opportunity to get some new people in the store and just let people try it. Our other stipulation, I should note, is that the proxies have to be good.
Yes, they have to be something that we can watch on the stream and be able to tell what's going on.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, no Sharpie on the back of a basic plains.
Yeah.
I only say basic plains because that is the most dispensable basic land. Not going to be touching my mountains. Okay. So a Nimble Mongoose, and looks like a Lilian of the Veil. We're going to see a fetch.
Stifle.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
no.
that Spell Pierce taking down the Liliana would have been an absolute house against this deck to control the game. Both taking down that Nimble Mongoose that has Shroud otherwise.
Yep.
And otherwise just... Liliana is such a force. Almost, takes over the game in Modern pretty handily. And then, of course, when you find yourself in Legacy, it's... I mean, I don't want to say more impactful, but it definitely has at least the same level of impact on that board.
Yeah.
It could be more impactful. I just don't know well enough to argue it. Okay.
No, you violin your Thalia every time, and you know it.
So a Spell Pierce there, and
Choke. Disgusting.
We got,
The plethora of Mongoose is
yep. So a choke
doing some work.
taking down that mana base, but the amount of clock on the board right now through 2 Nimble Mongooses and a Tarmogoyf that is currently a 5/6. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty significant clock. And if Paul isn't able to get anything going, does have that Deathrite Shaman still.
Oof. And we're looking at Dylan holding up a Daze, which allows him to pick up and basically reset one of his islands.
Ooh.
So that does help him a little bit to fight through that choke.
An interesting little bit of interaction there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So pretty much with Paul just casting any spell, very likely Dylan will be firing off that Daze just to be able to get another mana. And maybe if he has a Stifle in hand, becomes pretty relevant with that.
Yeah.
So
So I'm not entirely sure what the stream is talking about, but...
They're talking about
Super
vintage
Dodgers.
at this point.
Mm.
Yeah. Spider-Man don't say.
Oh, well, this would be a good time for that days. Let's see what he reveals.
Doesn't? So we got the trigger
oof.
going first.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what that is. Is that a...
There's a hymn to Turok, the prettiest arts, IMHO.
And actually going to counter the hymn more than the Bloodbraid Elf, which
I agree with. Because
Yeah.
at this point, he would have been losing his entire hand, and the Bloodbraid Elf is not much of a threat. All of his creatures are at least as big.
Yeah, at least 3 3s that will trade with it.
Yep. Or that Tarmogoyf that is going to decimate it.
Yep.
Which I believe is... Yeah, that was his only choice at this point, because block or trading with a Nimble Mongoose would have still had him taking lethal.
And down to 2 from this Punishing Gen player. Looks like going to be a win in 2 for Rug.
Yep. Oof. Just a Wasteland off the top. And that is that. Dark Confidant's not getting him anywhere. Alright, so that was a tidy victory for the Rug player.
That choke, unfortunately, coming down just a little bit too late.
Oh, yeah.
You think we might be able to get another matchup?
Yeah, I can definitely go see who's still out and about. I would imagine there's still someone playing.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Also, if you could see how much is left on the timer. Okay, so thank you for joining us. To everybody new, looks like some of you are. Hello, my name is TJ. We are streaming some Legacy tonight here in our third and final round, but we should be able to get some other players up there for you. Still not quite done.
There's a little under 32 minutes left on the clock. And looks like we're going to have Ryan on Mud and Ian on Grixis Delver picking up our remainder of round 3, going into game 3, I believe he said, with Ian on the play.
And who's against the wall?
Should be Ryan.
Okay, so Ryan on Mud.
Mm-hmm.
So
Someone we've been seeing a lot of tonight.
Absolutely. And then on the left, we have got Ian, who is playing Grixis Delver, you said.
Yep.
Excellent.
So 2 people we have seen tonight, but not a match we've seen yet.
Not a match that we have seen yet tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And you said round 3.
I believe
Or
so.
game 3. Game 3.
I
So,
believe we're on game 3.
okay. Excellent. Well, just to continue that, for those of you just joining us, hello, welcome. We do this stream for Legacy every Friday night at 7:30,
Yep.
where we do Legacy as one of our FNM formats. We also do Modern on Wednesdays at 7 and Saturdays at 6. And also the 21st, which is a Sunday of this month, we'll be doing a Modern Grand Prix Trial, which will be happening at noon. So feel free to join us for those, and if you want to hit that follow button and watch a variety of our streams, we are always looking to improve our content. Looking on getting a green screen here pretty shortly, sometime in the next week.
Alright.
So should be a lot of fun. We'll be playing with that a little bit, and always just looking to improve, see what we can do as a stream. Hopefully see this grow into a consistent thing. I know that I've been having an absolute blast with it.
Oh, for sure. I love it every time I'm here.
Exactly. So, we have got both players moving over. Looks like you were correct. That is Ian on the left. Okay. Emperor, I'm glad that you do like the covered look. Very likely, and I say this absolutely seriously, which is unfortunate. I might end up just taking a picture of what's behind us and making that the background of our green screen.
No, man, you got to go for like the dingiest, darkest, like just basement corner. So it looks like we're in an even worse room than we actually are.
Currently, I'm thinking of either having like a giant basic mountain art behind me, lightning bolt art, original lightning bolt.
Giant guru mountain.
Yeah, or just, something basic, maybe like a plain black, or possibly the store logo if I feel like doing something actually reasonable.
There you go.
So, never quite sure.
Right.
Of course, if you guys do have recommendations of what our background should be, let us know.
That would always be fun. Do a weekly vote and then see what wins the poll for the next week's.
I'm not sure if I want to give people that much control over it. Have you seen what happens when Mountain Dew gives people control?
Yeah, man, they make delicious things like distortion.
I was actually, you know what? I'll ask me after the event.
All
And I can
right.
show you some of how some of their contests have gone.
Okay. A poison counter.
Oh, a poison counter would be pretty sweet, but I'm not quite Tom Ross enough for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
So don't shout them out. But over here, you can see what happened with the top 10 leaderboard once 4chan figured out that they were doing this contest.
Gotta say, I'm loving number 10. However, the frequency. I mean, just 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9.
4chan definitely got a hold of that contest. So that's what I'm referring to.
Alright. I can dig it. Alright, so it looks like we're underway into game 3. And, early fetch out of Delver. Not 100% what he's looking for.
Polluted Delta, because this is Grixis, I'm probably expecting, especially against Mud. Okay. So, gonna go for the Underground Sea.
Yep.
Oh, don't worry, it won't be that. That is true. 4chan definitely,
I mean, downhill or uphill, it depends on which side you're on.
Their community all on their own. Certainly.
Yeah.
I can appreciate what they provide for the internet, but
it's a place. I go there every once in a while just to remind myself exactly what's going on, and it's always something.
That's pretty much the answer. We cannot deal with those dank memes.
In very small amounts. It's very easy to OD on.
Alright, so a death threat challenge from this Grixis Delver player. Not going to be doing a whole lot. The biggest thing that I can think of is that it keeps him able to cast things through, say, a Trinisphere.
Right, it helps him build up his mana. Ooh, looking at double Delver. Just building up as quick of a clock as he can.
I think that pretty much is your answer, because...
Yeah, I mean, Mud's not going to be the fastest, especially off of his turn 1 Cloud Post.
Yeah, and outside of, from what I've seen, I think Ugin in these decks, it seems like most of its control elements are for keeping things from getting to the board, but once they do, then it can become problematic.
Mm.
So...
Alright, so I think what Ryan's looking for here is just stick Ugin as quickly as possible and start wrecking shop.
I think that is really a solid answer to this Delver deck. I don't think that Delver...
I'm just loving this.
Oh
to
my...
bits. Yeah, the boy.
So we saw a Grim Monolith into a Grim Monolith
into a Grim Monolith, building small amounts of mana each time.
Into a Trinisphere. Into...
And a Lodestone Golem.
Incredible.
Oh, flipping those Delvers hurts, but... Oof.
That was the greatest thing I've seen in some time.
Oh, yeah.
That was just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the 2 flip Delvers is definitely going to hurt Ryan's plan, but... Ooh, yeah. I was going to say, I don't think he wants to swing here, because all he's going to be doing is trading with that second Delver. Oh, man.
Okay, so we have got both Delvers flipped, a pretty significantly fast clock at this point.
Yeah.
But that I can't think of the name of it right now. Lodestone Golem is a 5/3, I believe.
Yes. So Ian's gonna have a touch of trouble with this. He's got the mana to cast one or 2 drop spell right now. What do you got? Oh. Bolt on the Lodestone, that hurts.
You really saw pretty much the only downside to that card is the fact that it is so susceptible to Bolt, which would not make it even remotely playable. I guess it would probably be... I guess it isn't playable within Modern itself. Mm-hmm. But that's also because there's no really fast way to accelerate it out. And also just with Bolt being one of the most played spells.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful there. Okay. My goodness. I think that's the first time I've ever seen Mud have a storm count of 5.
Mm-hmm. And for the stream there, asking if that was enough mana, I want to say yes.
Because he had the Glimmer Post, he ended up having to tap that.
So
land
he
as
had
well.
3 off of his land, playing Grim Monolith and tapping it for a net of an extra 1. Casting a second Monolith for a net
mana
of 1.
off of each of those, plus the extra 1 off of the initial Cloud Post. That is 4 mana for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, and slowly just untapping his Monoliths. Ryan's got the mana to cast anything he wants now. needs to find himself a real threat, using his Vesuva as a post to gain some quick life. Oof,
And-
what do we have? Just being snarky. Gotcha.
Okay.
Nothing better to do, so he's just gonna tap and untap his monoliths.
I think Inkmoth's way of describing this is pretty solid. Sometimes your opponent tries to hit you with a brick, but gets struck by lightning instead.
Yep. And it looks like I think this is gonna be game here.
Very likely, especially with just pretty much ending instant or sorcery out of the graveyard would also win this.
Oof.
Nope, not enough to do it.
That hurts.
So, a win in 3 going to this Grixis Delver.
That is very rough.
Unfortunate, but still probably one of the cooler mud plays that I've been able to see in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Just a glorious number of green monoliths there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and do you think that we might have another one?
Yeah, I will see if we still have anyone.
Alright, we're going to try and get one more match for you
Surprised if
guys.
we have everyone done in, 25 minutes.
Absolutely. We're going to try and get one more for you guys. Okay. So, here in the last round, streaming from Geek Fortress in Snohomish, Washington, for those of you wondering. As always, if you do ever have any feedback for this stream, please do let me know. You can do that either through the chat itself. Also, you can let me know on my Twitter, which is right above my head right now, Red Baron MTG, and also you can find me on Reddit underneath the same account. So, if you also want to leave any feedback for u/Red Baron MTG, I would also. Any kind of feedback is always appreciated. Looking to improve any way that I can, and also one thing that I'd like to do if anyone has advice is trying to eventually build up some of the legacy viewership. Our modern viewership has been pretty solid, and I don't know. I'd like to see the legacy viewership grow a little bit, so if any of you have any advice, let me know. One thing that I have considered is just putting a post into the subreddit for Legacy, which I believe is Legacy MTG. But if you guys have any other suggestions, I am always open to them. Looking to improve this any way that I can. In the meantime, Joe out looking for another match that we can get on stream for you guys, and hopefully we will be able to provide one. Otherwise, we will be hanging out a little bit afterward.
I believe this is pretty much it.
That's
it. Round's wrapping up. People who are still playing are in their game 3. So,
Excellent. So,
Yep.
Rug Delver taking down this 3-round tournament. Unfortunately, that is the end of what we got. But if you guys do want to stick around and just talk a little bit, we will be here for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Understandable. Working on that one. Some of them with the proxies become a little bit tricky, but solid advice from Hillary.
Yep. Thank you very much. Do what we can.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see here. But other ideas, yeah, another big thing is figuring out what our green screen background should be.
Yep.
Always a fun thing. As for MTG, the source still a thing. I don't know.
Could be.
Do you know?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we do not know the answer to that one. But any fun developments? How about Warping Well? How do you feel about Warping Well in Legacy?
I think it's interesting. Certainly has decks it's going to work in, some that it's not even worth considering. I like it for Mud. I think it's definitely going to be an interesting new piece of tech for him.
And what are some of the big sorceries that it hits? I guess what is the biggest utility for it?
As we saw, it's going to have some utility against different Storm decks combo. Just because a lot of key pieces are going to be sorcery speed. Any reanimate spells, show and tell, the tutors coming out of a traditional Storm deck. There's just a lot of very powerful spells it's going to be able to hit. And I believe its removal is creatures with a
Power or toughness of 1.
Yeah, and that's going to hit a massive number of creatures in the format. So
yeah, you have Dark Confidant, Goblin Lackey, Stoneforge Mystic,
Deathrite Shaman,
big one,
Unflipped Delvers,
Young Pyromancer.
Mm-hmm.
Does Contra enter the Infinite? I suppose that is true.
Yeah, there you go. There's a use for it, but...
And also the Scion mode, I guess creatures, even 1/1s, can be a lot more impactful in Legacy than in Modern, just because that might be your only clock, and sometimes that'll get done, as we saw in, I think, the second round.
Yep.
We saw it going up against Storm. Or no, that was in round 1, I think. We had Mud going up against Storm.
Oh, could be.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
we did actually see that happen, and it ended up being a great clock. Mother of Runes only gives protection from a certain color.
Yep.
So that's really cool. Inkmoth Nexus also brings up a good point. It hits Terminus and Entreat the Angels.
Oh, yeah.
So hits
That
those
it
miracle
does.
spells.
Yep. Kills Heritage Druid, there we go, yeah.
Alright, so deals with a lot of actually pretty powerful stuff in Legacy. I'll be curious to see if it ends up seeing more play. The biggest issue is that that requirement of colorless mana can be a little bit prohibitive, so
Right.
I can understand
So for Mud, for sure, it's going to see a lot of play. In which case, Mom isn't as relevant either. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see which decks are picking it up outside of Mud.
The biggest issue is that right now, colorless mana is not easy to come by.
Right. Decks that are already playing, Wasteland and Russian Import is much easier for them, so we might see this coming up in Death and Taxes, which I think was mentioned in the stream earlier.
Death and Taxes with Warping Well would be pretty excellent. Okay, technically true. Ampra, bringing up basically the similar point that you did, is if they are running that Wasteland, we could see it more. I'm just not sure if 4 lands in the main deck is quite enough to be casting it.
Right, only 4 non-fetchable lands that you generally have a better use for. Yeah, 12 posts, there we go. That's something that's going to be generating a ton of colorless mana. I would be surprised if they weren't running it.
That's pretty cool. I like the card a lot.
Yeah.
The so-named Eldrazi charm seems to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing it happen a little bit in Modern as well.
There we go. Gentleman's Quarterly can play it.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
Inkmoth bringing up a great point. Can take it down. So, as always, you guys have some interesting points. As far as building the Legacy, you guys mentioned MTG The Source. It appears to me that that site is at least still up and running. So, possibly I could end up putting a post on there, though I will end up having to learn those rules. Luckily, there's a post saying that there are rules, so I'll have to read into those.
Yeah, Goblins definitely can play it.
I think that's interesting because Cavern of Souls almost... The fact that it sometimes serves for colorless can almost become a good thing in that particular instance.
Right.
As opposed to usually that is the worst mode is that it's only good on your creatures.
Right.
So
yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Could flip that now negative into a positive, so I can definitely get behind that. In the meantime, we're hanging out just a little bit. If you guys do have any questions, comments, or feedback, now is a great time. We have time to pretty much discuss it without being distracted by whatever is happening on the board state.
Yep.
And we're down to discuss things. I'll be honest, Legacy, I am still learning, and I'm doing my best, so I may not have the best answers for things, but I'm certainly willing to give it a shot.
Yeah.
And Joe, while having significantly more of a knowledge base than I...
Definitely still learning.
Yeah, and I think that might be the best approach for Legacy.
I know all about our Lord and Savior Meddling Mage.
I would love to hear more about Meddling Mage. I mean... Meddling Mage is a sweet card.
It's really fun with cards that have Suspend. Opponent goes, alright, turn 1, suspend Visions. Turn 2, suspend Visions. Turn 3, just get a huge stack of Ancestral Visions going. And you're like, alright, Meddling Mage, good luck.
That's true, but also,
Whoa,
you can name Greater Gargadon.
And I think you guys are forgetting the Judge Meddling Mage. And I don't think anyone's going to agree with me on that. I really like it.
Meddling Mage in the Shardless sideboard. You know, what, you play a decent amount of Meddling Mage, from what I've understood. What are some really good targets that you end up, like, what do you bring in Meddling Mage against? Let me ask that.
I bring in Meddling Mage against, well, first off, it's a main board card. It just is. But what I tend to name with Meddling Mage, in general, unless you're playing against combo and you know that, you're going to have to start by listing removal.
Okay.
Because otherwise, Meddling Mage against your WinCon, oh, well, it just got pathed, and then you played your WinCon anyways. It's not efficient, but you do need to kind of lead by protecting it. which unfortunately makes it really difficult to play against Burn because you can never get rid of everything.
Okay.
It's, they will always have removal, so that's actually a deck I tend to side out against, but against combo, I 100% will leave it in. And then, anything else, it's generally got use in, alright, we're going to lead with Abrupt Decay, then we're going to give it a Swords to Plowshares, and suddenly your opponent has no more spot removal, and they're just kind of stuck with whatever you're doing, and that can give you a big edge.
Alright, I can dig that. Someone I know posted a picture of signed Alara Mages. Huh. That is pretty interesting. I'm guessing that Pakula is the artist of the newer version, so let me take a quick look here. No, that's Todd Lockwood, so I'm not really sure. Who is Pakula? I honestly don't know.
He's a player.
Oh, it's probably the player that the art was done after?
Could very well be.
That would be my assumption. My guess is that it kind of falls into the same thing as like being Dark Confidant. So
Yep.
that would be my assumption.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Oh,
I
man.
didn't even realize that.
Dude, locking out Omnitell is so satisfying. I've had games with a turn 1 judge is familiar. They're like, alright, whatever, I'll go a turn later. Turn 2 meddling mage, and they nearly rage cooped on the spot. So satisfying.
Excellent. Well, today I learned that Meddling Mage was an invitational card.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would always love to see them bring back the Magic Invitational. I can
Yeah.
understand the fact that they didn't, because, it's just they can put those resources into other things. It is a shame to see that go away.
Right.
One thing that they should do is maybe just put the Pro Tour winner onto a card or something like that.
Now it's definitely an option.
I don't know. But
man. Ethersworn Canning against Omnitell. That's fun.
awesome.
It's infinitely disappointing when they're just like, oh, well, I didn't have my Omnis, so I just played Emrakul. And you're like, oh, that's cool too.
Neat.
Thanks.
Totally awesome. True. I don't know. I would just like to see people end up on cards again, because that was a really cool thing. I can understand them not doing it by modern things, but because otherwise, almost every set would have a Pro Tour winner on it.
Yeah.
So that is actually, every set would. So I don't know. That is some issues, but none is such as life. I guess we're just gonna have to lose it.
Yeah.
As much as fun as it was, that was probably the highest honor in Magic.
Getting your face on a card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then just Karakas the end. Well, okay, sure. If you're going to be running Karakas as well, I guess if you have Aethersworn Kidness, we could have assumed that.
Yeah.
So, okay, Inkmoth Nexus. I'm starting to think that Inkmoth is a Miracles player because of the Karakas and also Flip Top into Terminus. That's really making me believe that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a 1/4. The Eidolon of Rhetoric. Personally, I prefer the Aethersworn Kidness, but that's just because I'm an Affinity player, and being an artifact is always better than not being an artifact. Unless, of course, you're a burn spell. Burn spells take my first priority.
Alright.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you guys have anything else that you would like to discuss, just let us know. Otherwise,
We're here.
as we're waiting for any question, comment, or feedback, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you who did join us tonight. Still working on growing this legacy group, but for those of you who are consistently joining us, it is a lot of fun to interact with you guys on a weekly basis, and we're going to keep trying to both build our legacy player base here and also hopefully build the viewership on the stream.
Yeah.
And hopefully get some cool decks going. And it's just a lot of fun having you guys. If you want to hit that follow button, we will be doing more fun content, and hopefully I'll be having Joe back in the booth on a more consistent basis.
For sure.
Right now, every other week, and hopefully more going forward. In the meantime, where are we located? We are located in Snohomish, Washington, in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. Sometimes I have to clarify country, and I think
really?
that's super cool.
Yeah.
If any of you are outside of the country, let me know, because it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's great to see how far people are watching us from.
Although now I kind of feel like Daniele might have been asking 8 Farms.
Oh, yeah, it's possible.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, we let you know anyway. So. Death and
Hawk
taxes.
packs. I'm liking your list there. World Gorger Reanimator's got some style to it.
Miracles, Lance, Dredge, Grixis, Deathblade, PSI. It sounds like you have got the Legacy collection that is pretty similar to my modern. Basically, I have 8 modern decks.
Nice.
And only 1 Legacy. Just Legacy Burn. 8 farms, I would love it. Come road trip down. I'd love to meet you. We can get you on camera, watch you lose. That's always fun, too. Now, PSI. What's PSI? What is PSI, Inkmoth? Let me know. Still learning this Legacy landscape. In the meantime, while
I'm gonna be embarrassed as soon as I see it. But
Probably.
I can't think of what it is.
It might be an obvious one. I'm gonna see what I can find here. Okay. Okay.
Gotcha.
The Spanish Inquisition. Now, I honestly don't entirely know what Spanish... I've heard
neither.
Spanish Inquisition a lot,
Yeah.
but I don't quite know what the deck is.
Me neither.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've never seen it played.
Oh, okay. That's apparently like Belcher,
Okay.
with mistakes.
There we go. So
Even better. Apparently that makes it better. We have high standards for our Magic
How does
decks.
that not make it better than Belcher if you're allowed to make a mistake?
Absolutely. Ooh, and look at that MTG bot hopping in. We still aren't quite sure on what frequency that thing does post, but it seems to post every now and then with a big thank you. So, thank you to all of you. And
Yeah.
don't forget that follow button. 8 Farms, have a fantastic night. Look forward to meeting you one day.
Yeah.
Calling the week, that's awesome. Okay, so it's like a black-green Belcher.
Okay.
That's
cool.
pretty sweet. I'm impressed. Inkmoth, if you happen to be anywhere in the area, feel free to drive here to Geek Fortress, and we'll get you on stream.
Yeah.
Even if that might be miserable to stream. But I'll do it anyway.
I mean, if anyone brings a sweet deck, we do our best to try and get them featured on the stream at least once.
Oh yeah, we gotta show the sweet decks.
Oh yeah, that's why they always let me play my horrible nonsense on the stream.
And usually it is, in fact, horrible nonsense.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
But in the best kind of
I
way.
apologize.
It's usually cool though. It's not like miserable. It's just.
No, last week was pretty bad.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So PSI uses Summoner's Pact for Dryad Arbor, Deathrite Shaman, Spirit Guide, and Skyshroud Cutter, and Wild Cantor.
Cool.
That is actually pretty cool. I'm learning. I might end up doing a little bit of research into this deck, and also I am going to be finding myself definitely frequenting the Legacy subreddit a lot more.
So,
Taking off?
Yeah, Dylan won it with Red Velvet.
Excellent.
I
Yeah.
took second for the Omnitell.
cool.
All right.
Congrats, man.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Catch you guys later.
Have a good night. So, Rogue Delver taking first, Omnitell taking second. That is the tournament results that we have for the night.
Yep.
We would love to see World Gorger in the area.
Oh yeah.
Pog Packs, if you show up and play it, I'll totally let it.
Dude, it's not, we're only like 3 days away, man. Just make the drive. It's worth it.
I mean, it's within the same country. If this was the UK, that'd be like a 1 hour drive. Slowly Crashing, I hope you'll be playing Gentleman Quarterly, because that deck is a spicy meatball.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but I think we're coming close to the end. We do have those results up.
Oh, we getting kicked out?
I think probably we are. So,
Unfortunate.
I think we're going to call it a night unless you do have any final questions for us. If you do, go ahead and toss them into that chat with @GeekFortress. We'll just be doing a little bit of a sign-off at the moment, but if there are any, we're happy to answer them, whether magic-related or if for some reason you have a not magic-related question, we can do it. Lord of the Pit 23 will totally...
Oh.
If you toss in some questions or conversation, then we'll keep sticking around. But otherwise, we're happy to stick around and just discuss things. It's always kind of fun to interact with you guys.
And feel free to assail TJ on Twitter at RedBaronMTG. Send him any questions you've got any time of day. I'm sure he'll get back to you eventually.
Absolutely. The biggest thing that I'm kind of new to Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is that people send me something and I want to be like, let me tell you all this cool stuff, even though I don't get a whole lot of it. But it's like they'll tell me one thing, and as I go to answer, suddenly I find myself like I'm hit by the character limit almost immediately.
Yep.
So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, there is that.
What makes Dylan J so awesome? He owns us. Sorry, I mean the store. He owns the store. So he is the one who allows me to sit back in his broom closet, streaming this on such a consistent basis, and does support us with a bunch of resources. Because currently we are operating on a budget of exactly 0, plus or minus. So that is the reason why Dylan is so awesome.
Yep.
And why did Chase go to Atlanta? Because he qualified for the Pro Tour by coming in 3rd/4th at GPC Tech with his Legacy Reanimator deck.
Yep.
He did make it, unfortunately, due some plane snafus with Delta and his transfer flight. He ended up getting there about 2 hours before the tournament started, and ended up being awake for about 24 hours before heading into the matches. So it was an unfortunate start to the Pro Tour, but nonetheless he qualified, which is a pretty impressive feat nonetheless, and I can certainly appreciate the fact that he did so well there.
Oh, come on. You can't compare Four Horsemen to eggs. Four Horsemen is much faster and consistent-ish.
Joe is certainly an innovator, and he did find a way to keep Four Horsemen from being technically immediately banned from a tournament.
Yeah, technically legal. It's the best kind of legal.
The problem, of course, being that you do have to hit that quicken in your hand.
You do.
So, really, we should end up looking to see another card. Oh, how about Alchemist Refuge in the mana base?
What is that?
Yeah. Alchemist Refuge, it is a land that allows you... Let me show you.
Alright, please do.
So, Alchemist Refuge, you may cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash for blue, black, and tap. So for 3 mana...
Blue, green, and tap?
Or, I'm sorry, blue, green, and tap. Boom, Alchemist Refuge, it's more quickens.
Oh, Sidisi. This is a boring way to do it.
Uses Sidisi to break combo. Is that just because every time it happens you get a zombie?
Every time you mill a Narcometer, you get a free zombie, which changes the game state. It advances it, but meh.
Lord of the Pit. Chase did not play Seances. He played a 4-color Gifts deck that we have been working on for quite some time. Ended up losing to 2 Infect players, which was unfortunately one of its rough matchups. So did not get the kind of success that we would have liked to see him get. But I am still... I mean, I cannot just say... Great job to Chase, and also anyone else who just qualifies for a Pro Tour. That's such a huge accomplishment.
Sure,
and even for all the people who didn't perform as they'd like, hats off to you guys.
You made it there, and that's more than a lot of people will ever do. So.
Exactly. Especially since I'm looking to, in the next year or two, start actually grinding that GP circuit and local things. So I'd like to join in that stage one day. Hopefully things go to the point where I have the resources to actually spend doing all that grinding. So looking to do it eventually. That's the goal, because the more I keep doing, like, producing this content has just been wildly rewarding from, like, just for a personal standpoint. Interacting with people and just putting things out there has been a lot of fun. I'm looking into getting writing. And the more I do it, the more I think, if I can find a way to turn this into just what I do, then that would just be living the dream for me. So, I'm very excited, and hope to keep doing that soon.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's better than we've done. Chase made it to the Pro Tour. I certainly haven't.
I probably never will.
Yeah, if anyone else in the chat has, I'll give you a shout out though.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I can't even verify if you're lying or not.
Yeah.
You get a
Feel
shout
free
out.
to brag.
Pretty much, you can brag about whatever you want.
Like a nice cheaty face. Go ahead and slip your lies in now while we can't catch them.
Exactly. I once won actually the Standard Pro Tour by playing cheaty faces. Oh, really? And the judge allowed it since it's on the rules text.
Oh, nice. Dude, well done.
Yeah. It was a red deck wins where underneath every burn spell, I had a cheaty face, so I'd put the burn spell on. And then once they accepted its resolution... Once they accepted the resolution, I put my burn spell to the graveyard and a cheaty face underneath it. Every single time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
They didn't notice that your deck was like 120 cards thick?
No. And then, of course, when people started catching on to that for day 2, I sleeved up my burn deck in penny sleeves with nothing but on the back of them, cheaty faces, as the card backers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so I put my library down, and once they cut my library and allowed me to draw my opening hand, then I just sprayed out my 57 cheaty faces that were in play.
I like it. I mean,
You've qualified for every GP. That's even fantastic. I have hardcast Ashen Rider in the draft. Man, this is some fantastic bragging. Keep up this bragging. I am more than happy. Emperor, you get all the credit for qualifying for every GP. I'm not sure if all of us can say the same. As for slowly crashing, top 8ing a PTQ, that is pretty top notch.
yeah.
That's the only way to do it. And for Inkmoth Nexus, possibly my favorite one as of yet, hardcasting an Ashen Rider. No, all of these are actually true.
Yeah.
That's what we're implying, that every single one of these are 100% true.
For sure.
I have attacked with Jace. I've attacked with a Spellskite and won because of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not even... Actually, I did it in Infect as well, but I've done it in Affinity a significant amount.
The fun thing is, I know how to attack with Jace. Like, not the new flip Jace. Like an old school, say a Mind Sculptor.
Ooh.
You can do that.
Okay. Does it involve March of the Machines and a Mycosynth Lattice?
That's a way to do it.
Okay. What else you got?
At one point, there was a standard way you could do it with it's like a Quicksilver suit, some such, where a target permanent becomes an artifact. And then
yeah.
the Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, target artifact is a 5/5. So you could turn him into an artifact, animate himself, and have an artifact creature planeswalker that you're dealing battle with. That's the stylish way to do it.
That's awesome. Hit for lethal with a Dryad Arbor. Pogpacks, you get points. Absolutely. You can equip Bolas to Bolas. You can equip the Planeswalker Bolas to... Because you can make it into an artifact, and then you get Bludgeon Brawl, which turns all non-creature permanents into... Or non-creature
I like it.
artifacts
That's
into
amazing.
equipment, and then you can equip it to the creature Bolas, and basically just picks himself up by the tail and smacks you over the head with it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, blocking with Bloodghast, that's some style points. I've really considered that myself, actually. Playing Humility in a Zombardment deck turns all your Gravecrawlers and Bloodghasts into blockers. Doesn't remove their card type, so you still get to recast all your Bloodghasts out of the yard. It still has landfall because he's in the graveyard, so Humility doesn't count. Serious consideration on that. I like your style.
Because it only affects the creatures that while they're in play, does it not?
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And it doesn't change the creature type, so a Gravecrawler in play is still a zombie, so you still get to cast your Gravecrawler out of the yard.
That is so...
I
do
love
you still
it.
get to bring back Bloodghast with Landfall then?
Because it's in the yard, still has
Oh
all its
my
abilities.
goodness.
They just lose the can't block text.
Have you ever actually done that?
No, I thought about doing it after I cut Academy Rector because the deck was getting too cute and I wanted to try and do something serious.
Academy Rector, you hardly know her. Obligatory joke there.
I mean, you can't not do that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people might have a pretty a grudge against a lot of these liquid metal coating combos, though.
No.
You know, a lot of these, like, the problem is that when you're trying to set up that Bolas, swinging with a Bolas, that setting up that combo just takes so long that it really tends to drag on.
Nice one.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, man. But it's particularly easy to do that combo in March of the Machines. Dang it! No, that's Bludgeon Brawl. Never mind. I don't know. I'm trying to get these puns. I'm gonna be the LSV, except not nearly as award winning. If that's the term? He's certainly got a lot more things to his name than I do. But as always, hanging out with you guys afterwards is a blast. If you do have anything else that you would like us to discuss, just let us know. Otherwise, we'll be close to calling it an evening. Unfortunately, it looks like some of you may have just joined us. So, as always, to those of you who may either be taken off or as we're waiting for some other conversation piece, feel free to hit that follow button. It's always fun to see this grow, and I'd love to see it continue on. One of the suggestions that we got from that modern one is to one day add a donate button, and I think we'll be doing that. Eventually. I certainly don't expect anyone to do it, but at least there's the option so that we can upgrade some of our equipment over time. Or like Cedric Phillips. Honestly, the more that I do this, the more I'm open to the idea of one day doing like commentary for one of the bigger companies. I certainly have a lot of work to do to that point, but I think that it would be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And I might keep my eyes open for jobs of that type, because
There you go.
it would be an absolute blast for me to do that. But certainly I'd have to get better at recognizing the legacy card pool, which I'm trying to do over time. But as far as modern goes, significantly better at that one, and standard decent at it, but we don't actually stream standard.
Right.
Because,
I'll love to see that.
well, and it's also just the problem is everyone on Twitch is streaming standard or draft already.
Oh, really?
So it's really hard to compete with that. There's significantly less streaming of modern and legacy, which is why we're able to kind of jump into that one. So
Cool.
that is why we have the fun with that one. But in the meantime, I think we'll call it a night. Let's go get some dinner, things like that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Thank you to all of you who jumped in and joined us for this evening and hung out with us afterwards. Looks like 23 of you stuck around, which is just awesome. Thanks for hanging out, and hope to see you next time. Again, I am TJ. It's right above my head. This is Joe, my fantastic Legacy co-host, and we are streaming from Geek Fortress in Snohomish, Washington. And I hope to see some of you for our upcoming Modern events. But if not, I hope to see you next week, 7:30 Pacific time. It's currently about 10:30 here, so we're at whatever time it is for you now. 3 hours previously, next Friday. Come join us again, and I'd love to see you all there talking again. So, thank you all, and have a great night.